Chapter 453. One by one, they looked at Yi Tianyin with fiery eyes. They all wanted to get the clearest answer from him. If he said that he didn't want to establish an empire for the time being, then they would definitely put it aside for the time being. They would listen to Yi Tianyin's instructions, and they wouldn't refute him. They were just making suggestions, and if there was no other way, they could only choose to give up. They didn't know that Yi Tianyin was already thinking about this. Now, the establishment of an empire didn't conflict with the main quest at all. The main quest could only be considered completed if he achieved this goal. In reality, establishing an empire didn't require such harsh conditions. 3 very strong forces, coupled with Yi Tianyin's powerful strength, were enough to establish an empire. Especially Renlong, as the strongest ally, would definitely help them in the future. It was completely the right time and place. Establishing the Heavenly Clouds Empire wasn't a problem. The only thing it needed was time. Establishing an empire required the establishment of an imperial capital, followed by the establishment of other cities around the continent, forming a large-scale force plate. This required a lot of cultivators to achieve this step. Otherwise, there would be no manpower to manage it at all. Now, that Heavenly Clouds mansion had a lot of manpower. They could still manage many cities. As long as there was a core elder in charge, there wouldn't be any problem. As for other cultivators, as long as the city was prosperous enough and not dangerous enough, there would still be a lot of cultivators moving over. Then, from these cultivators, some would be selected to join the Heavenly Clouds Empire to strengthen their own forces. Everything had to be built bit by bit, and it took an amazing amount of time. It was like building a house. It had to be built 1 brick at a time, and it couldn't be built in a day. Yi Tianyin smiled and said, "That's not a problem. Let's choose the location of the Nether Continent. From now on, it will no longer be called Nether Continent, but Heavenly Cloud Continent." Yi Tianyin was also very excited. It was quite exciting to be able to reach this step and establish his own empire. Previously, Heavenly Jade Sect and Heaven's Top Mansion didn't belong to him in theory. Now, Heavenly Clouds Empire was the real force that belonged to him. Many elders showed surprise in their eyes, and one by one, they stood up and shouted heroically, "Yes, we have the same idea. We will rename this Netherworld continent to Heavenly Clouds Continent. We believe that under the leadership of Mansion Master, no, under the leadership of Heavenly Clouds Great Emperor, we will definitely reach the most glorious moment." Haha, how can the Spirit Race's Spirit King be bad? The Spirit Race's old ancestor laughed loudly. For a time, in this hall, everyone was excited, and they were ready to create an empire. Previously, no one dared to think about it, but now they were preparing to create it. How could they not be excited? At that time, an entire continent would be under their control. Just thinking about it made him excited. Most of them think that Yi Tianyin should go higher and get the glory that belongs to Yi Tianyin. Yi Tianyin shook his old ancestor, said, "Yi, S1, 121 and 1211. Yun 111, 2111. Yi Tianyin shook his head with a smile and said, "I don't know much about this. I will leave everything to you. I don't know how to manage these things." He really didn't know much about this. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. If he was asked to arrange everything, his head would definitely explode. "Just leave this to us. We can't fight in the front with Mansion Master, but we can arrange everything in the back and manage everything properly." Yi Yue, Yi Qingxian, and the others stood up. One by one, the women stood up. They are also good at managing their forces. When Yi Tianyin asked them to come back, it was because of this that Yi Tianyin looked for them. "And us, we're not good at fighting, but we can still protect the sect." Yang Yu and the others stood up one after another. For example, Su Fei and the others stood up. They were all very grateful to Yi Tianyin for his help. Of course, they would do their best to help. "Thank you all. Let me be a mansion master who doesn't have to do anything." Yi Tianyin was very happy. Even if he wasn't here, they could manage everything properly. No, Mansion Master has worked hard. It's all thanks to you that we can come this far and live here peacefully. They all shook their heads. They all agreed that Etianyan had it even harder. He had to fight against countless experts. They knew that this was the most terrifying thing, especially when they faced the Netherworld Great Emperor. They felt that death was so close. But Etianyan left without hesitation. This was what they admired the most. They felt that Etianyan was qualified to lead them. Only he could make them work for him loyally. Etianyan smiled. He didn't say anything. There was no need to say anything else. It was enough for them to understand each other's hearts. Soon, they were busy preparing to build the imperial capital. There were more things to do, but they didn't feel tired at all. Instead, they felt excited. They wanted to bring glory to Etianyan. Brother E, the people you raised are very good. They are all loyal and devoted. Rinlong envied Etianyan. It's okay. They are willing to believe in me. Etianyan smiled. No matter what, the Heavenly Dragon Empire will need your help in the future. Rinlong looked around, and when he saw that there was no one around, he whispered, I feel that you can also take over the Heavenly Dragon Empire. This, if your father comes back, won't he skin you alive? Etianyan was speechless. Prime Minister Long is a traitor. If it weren't for you, Heavenly Dragon Empire would have already been destroyed. Renlong snorted coldly. He felt very unhappy. Let's talk about this later. Etianyan didn't want to get involved in these things for the time being. There were too many things to manage. That's fine. I think my little sister will also be happy to help. Think about it. Renlong patted Etianyan's shoulder and smiled. I have nothing to do here. I will take my leave now. Etianyan was going to leave Heavenly Dragon Empire. He still had a lot of things to do. Thank you, Brother Rin. After Etianyan said goodbye to Rinlong, his eyes flashed. He thought about the situation in the secret room. For him, it was a good place to gain experience. He couldn't waste it. Chapter 454. Etianyan quickly went to the passage full of netherworld fire. There were many guards here, and when they saw him coming, they quickly nodded. Although the netherworld imperial capital was cleaned up, many buildings here were still preserved. With a little repair, they can be used. Although this place will not be used as the imperial capital, it is still good to use it as a city. Therefore, guards were sent here to protect it, so as not to be destroyed by other rogue cultivators. Some rogue cultivators, in order to look for things, will destroy everywhere to see what they can find. So as long as they can protect some buildings, they can quickly complete the establishment of a city. As for the imperial capital, this location is chosen by the spirit race old ancestor. With his level of divine rune grandmaster, choosing the imperial capital will not be a problem. Immediately, Etianyan went down. The situation below has not changed, it is still the same. But the netherworld fire is more than before, piled up in this secret room. Everywhere is filled with netherworld fire. G. At this time, the little phoenix in the pet bar rushed out, completely out of his control, and flew outside. Then it began to eat the netherworld fire. After eating, it showed an intoxicated expression. It seems that it likes eating the netherworld fire very much. You little phoenix, you ran out without permission. Etianyan smiled and shook his head. In a sense, the little phoenix is not his own pet. If he uses his capture skill, it can become his pet, but he did not do so. It is precisely because of this that the little phoenix cannot get experience to quickly level up. However, the little phoenix ran out at this time. To a large extent, when there is no one around, it dared to run out of the pet bar to eat the netherworld fire. The little phoenix ignored Etianyan and kept eating the netherworld fire, as if it has not eaten for a long time. This can't be blamed on Etianyan for not giving it anything to eat. Etianyan often gave it medicinal pills to eat. Otherwise, the little phoenix's cultivation would not have broken through to the spirit refinement realm. This breakthrough speed is still very fast. His appearance had also grown bigger, and he was much stronger than before. Obviously, it met something it likes very much, so it rushed out to eat. Then you can slowly eat on the side. I'll clean up this place first. Onion took out the Netherworld Pearl and quickly absorbed the surrounding Netherworld fire into the Netherworld Pearl, leaving only a small area for the little phoenix to eat. G. The little phoenix raised its head and looked over, seemingly very dissatisfied with what Onion had done. Although it couldn't eat so much for the time being, it still felt very dissatisfied when it saw Onion taking away so much at once. Yo, you're getting arrogant. I'm just collecting them. When you want to eat them, just tell me. I can take them out for you to eat. Onion didn't expect this little phoenix to have such a temper after growing up. When little phoenix heard Onion's words, he became well-behaved and continued to eat the Netherworld's fire, ignoring him. Onion let it eat on the side while he went to the deep pit in the center. The Netherworld flames were continuously emitted from here. After cleaning up the Netherworld's fire outside, the Netherworld's fire that was emitted from here quickly filled up this place. This secret room was equivalent to a storage room. After filling up the Netherworld's fire, through the Netherworld array, it could be used for cultivation. The effect was similar to the Netherworld Pearl, but it wasn't as convenient as the Netherworld Pearl. This is really strange. How can there be a continuous flow of Netherworld's fire? Onion felt very curious, but he didn't care about it. He took out the Netherworld Pearl and began to crazily absorb the Netherworld's fire in this big hole. But just the Netherworld Pearl alone couldn't quickly absorb all the Netherworld's fire, so he used the Devouring Heaven Divine technique and began to absorb the Netherworld's fire. After absorbing it, it didn't turn into experience, but the Netherworld's fire's experience. This was similar to the inextinguishable flame, constantly increasing the Netherworld's fire's experience and increasing the Netherworld's fire's grade. It was just that his Netherworld's fire was currently at the middle grade Earth grade, so he needed to absorb a lot of Netherworld's fire to be able to level up. Anyway, he had a lot of time, and there weren't any enemies to talk about, so he could absorb the Netherworld's fire to his heart's content. As time passed, he didn't know how much he had absorbed, whether it was himself or the Netherworld Pearl. They both absorbed a lot of Netherworld's fire. "Daddy, I'm hungry." At this time, a tender voice came from behind, causing Onion to hurriedly turn his head. He was shocked. The person who appeared in front of him was actually a little girl, around 8 or 9 years old. She wasn't wearing anything, which gave him a shock. "What's going on?" "What, Daddy?" Onion sized her up. Previously, he had been focused on absorbing the Netherworld's fire, and he didn't even know that someone was approaching him. He was really careless. "Daddy, I'm hungry." The little girl stretched out her hand and shook his shoulder, pouting her pink lips in dissatisfaction. "What, Daddy? You're that little phoenix." Onion was stunned. Wasn't the little phoenix just growing bigger? How did it turn into a girl? "Daddy, don't tell me you don't recognize me." The little girl looked at him with dissatisfaction, opened her mouth, and said, "I'm hungry. I want to eat this." She pointed at the Netherworld's fire, wanting to eat this. "You really are that little phoenix." When he carefully observed, he found that there were some phoenix feathers on this little girl's body, especially on her arms. There really were phoenix feathers. If it wasn't for this, he would really think that she was a lost girl who ran down from above. However, there were many guards up there, so how could a little girl run down? Immediately, he took out a set of clothes. Originally, he was going to wear it himself, but after cutting it a little, he let the little phoenix wear it. It just didn't look very fitting, but at least she wasn't naked anymore. "Daddy, this thing is not very comfortable. I don't want to wear this." The little phoenix frowned and said unhappily, "Just wear it, or else I won't give you the Netherworld's fire to eat." Onion threatened. I want to eat." The little phoenix hurriedly shouted. "All right, here you go." Onion took out a ball of Netherworld's fire and placed it to the side, forming a small area where the Netherworld's fire would not hurt her. After the little phoenix saw it, her clear eyes lit up, opened her mouth and sucked the netherworld's fire into her body, as if she was eating something, swallowing it mouthful by mouthful. After swallowing, her face was full of happiness, as if she had eaten something delicious. After having the netherworld's fire, she no longer cared about Etienne's situation and continued to eat. Chapter 455. After a while, the little phoenix ate the netherworld fire and said to Etienne, "Daddy, I want to eat more." "That's fast." Etienne was surprised. He gave a lot of food. He didn't eat so fast before, but now he ate it all in a short time. He didn't even have time to think about it. He already ate it all. Immediately, he pointed to the big hole and said, "Then let's eat the flames here together. You can eat as much as you can. Don't overdo it, understand?" "Yes, Daddy." Little Phoenix looked at the netherworld fire that was continuously coming out from this big hole, and its eyes lit up. It opened its mouth and sucked the netherworld fire up. Then it used its little hands to grab it and ate it mouthful by mouthful, as if it was eating a fruit. Worthy of the Phoenix clan, her resistance to fire is quite strong, and she can also grow by swallowing the flames. She has now rushed from the spirit refinement realm to the core condensation realm. This growth speed is too amazing, even more amazing than his cultivation speed. But thanks to the netherworld fire, she can break through so fast. If he can turn this into experience, and his cultivation is also relatively low, he can also level up very fast. The netherworld fire here is not low grade. Absorbing it is equivalent to a lot of experience. How can it not level up quickly? The same is true for the little phoenix. It is using this point to break through quickly. Seeing that the little phoenix is not in any big trouble, Etienne also swallowed the netherworld fire next to her. The netherworld fire in this big hole seems to be endless, so he can absorb it freely. Both of them began to crazily swallow the netherworld fire with their greatest strength. The speed is getting faster and faster, and finally the netherworld fire that emerged is not as fast as the two of them. Then even the flame began to disappear. It can only slowly rush up here. According to this situation, the speed of swallowing has slowed down a lot, which is a bit of a waste of time. Now there is nothing to do, but it does not mean that they can sit here and wait for the netherworld fire to slowly absorb it. "Daddy, the flame is gone." The little phoenix's breakthrough speed has dropped significantly, but she still feels very hungry, unable to fill her stomach. "Okay, then let's go down directly." Etienne immediately decided to fly down with little Phoenix. Descending to absorb was the best way, and at the same time to see what was going on below. Very quickly, he carried the little Phoenix and jumped into the big hole. After sliding down for a distance, he then saw the netherworld fire. They immediately began to devour, one faster than the other. It was as if they had encountered sweet dew after a long time, greedily absorbing it. However, it was quickly swallowed up again. They continued to descend. Anyway, flying was prohibited here, so he was not worried that they would not be able to come up. As they quickly moved downwards, they absorbed even more netherworld flames. When they fell down, they quickly entered an empty space. After they landed, Etienne was shocked by the scene in front of him, but his first action was to grab little Phoenix's head and press it into his arms. "Don't look without my order. Don't look over, understand?" His tone was very strict, and the originally mischievous little Phoenix really calmed down, burying her little head in his arms, and did not turn her head to look. Etienne flew in the air, the netherworld pearl in his hand constantly devoured the surrounding netherworld fire, but his heart was now completely cold, without the slightest bit of excitement, because in front of him was a large pile of bones. Endless bones. It was unknown how many bones were piled up here. It was simply like a mountain piled up here. The netherworld fire came from here, and then constantly surged up, providing them with more netherworld fire. Now he knew where the netherworld fire came from. It was born from countless corpses. The netherworld fire's source appeared in cold places, and when the corpses were burned, it was easier for the netherworld fire to appear. This was just like a wronged spirit floating out from the corpses. The mountain of bones here was undoubtedly the Netherworld Emperor's. He ordered people to catch a bunch of cultivators and then throw them into this big hole, turning them into fuel for the Netherworld fire, turning them into the flames for their cultivation. Thinking of the Netherworld prison, it seemed like everything was clear. The two formed a complementary effect. Constantly capturing people, those who resisted would be thrown in here, turning them into the Netherworld fire's nutrients. This was really ruthless, as expected. An empire must be built on a pile of corpses. Other than a pile of bones, there was nothing else, and the only thing left was the Netherworld fire. Because there were no fresh corpses added, the Netherworld fire's production speed became slower, which was the reason why their absorption speed far exceeded their release speed. Now it seemed like the Netherworld fire was almost gone. Only a small part was left. "Rest in peace, everyone!" Eteonian took a deep breath, and a shadow appeared behind him. It was him. The huge shadow waved his palm, and a huge palm print covered the wall. With a hong sound, the hard wall collapsed, covering the pair of corpses. He did not care how many treasures were buried here. After he finished absorbing the Netherworld fire, he planned to destroy this place, cover it with the soil, and make it their grave, so that they could rest in peace here. Originally, he did not want to absorb the Netherworld fire, but after seeing the truth, he no longer had any interest in absorbing it. Just that if he did not absorb it, it would be very difficult to extinguish the Netherworld fire, and it would continue to burn. This was not the result he wanted to see. Boom, boom, boom! Palm after palm bombarded the hard wall. Although it was very hard, under his violent power, it still collapsed. Very quickly, the surrounding stone walls collapsed, burying the corpses. Eteonian quickly flew out and continued to attack the tunnel, causing it to collapse. After flying out, he fiercely slammed down, completely collapsing the place. After flying out, he continued to destroy the secret room. He did not plan to stay. When they returned to the surface, many guards looked over in shock. The ground had been shaking crazily since the beginning, and they had no idea what was going on. The key point was, why did their palace lord bring a little girl up here? Eteonian did not answer them. He took out a stone tablet from the side and carved a line of words on it. Tomb of the Innocent. There was also a small line of words on the side. Netherworld Empire has been destroyed. Please rest in peace. Tianyan respectfully. Chapter 456. When the system's voice rang out, a ray of light was released from where the stone tablet stood and shot up into the sky. However, this light was quite gentle and not very dazzling. It looked like it was ascending to the sky, but there was no soul to be seen. It was just a ray of light that shot up into the sky like a rainbow. It was as if she was thanking him, but also bidding him farewell. The surrounding guards looked up at the sky and were very surprised by this scene. It looked like some kind of treasure had appeared. In fact, there was no treasure to be seen. They only saw a ray of light being released from a tombstone. It looked very strange. After a while, the light completely disappeared and everything returned to normal. There was no change from before. Seeing this miraculous light disappear, Eteonian was a little surprised. He didn't expect that his unintentional action would earn him a special title. Soul Ferryman. Soul Ferryman, title obtained by ferrying vengeful spirits, can expel all evil things. No evil things can easily get close to the body and can also be ferried. Also, can see vengeful spirits that ordinary people can't see. Ding! Because you have successfully ferried many vengeful spirits, you have received an additional special reward, soul guidance. It can guide you to any place, can be used for any mission or any treasure map. Soul guidance. Isn't this the same as finding the way? Tianyan was stunned. He had dropped a lot of treasure maps of the Netherworld. Just by looking at the treasure maps, he wouldn't know where it was at all. He could only find it by exploring step by step. This was like the Coiling Dragon treasure map. If he hadn't found the place of the Coiling Dragon, he really wouldn't know how to get there. Now that he had this soul guidance, it was different. It could guide him at will, but it was limited and could only be used once. However, he didn't ask for anything extra. It was already quite a pleasant surprise. If that's the case, I can. Itianyan looked down at the little phoenix who was holding his hand. He can help complete the side quest and get the support of the little phoenix, which will undoubtedly make his empire more stable. Before, he didn't know where the phoenix nest was. But with this soul guidance, it was different. He could easily find the phoenix nest. Daddy, what was that light just now? It looked so beautiful. Little Phoenix withdrew his gaze and smiled sweetly. That's the light of release. Itianyan sighed as he felt that it was the right choice to eradicate the Netherworld Empire. He felt that it was the right choice to eradicate the Netherworld Empire. If the Netherworld Empire was allowed to continue to develop, there would be more and more corpses in this pit. Just thinking about it was terrifying. The degree of their ruthlessness was not something that ordinary people could imagine. Daddy? When the surrounding guards heard this form of address, they were all stunned. Their prefecture lord was already their father? They had never heard of this before. This was a big deal. Itianyan ignored their gazes and flew towards the heavenly cloud shrine with little Phoenix. The matter here had been settled. It was time to go back and see the situation. Soon, Itianyan returned to the heavenly cloud shrine with little Phoenix. As soon as he returned, a guard greeted him and said, "Prefecture Lord, the spirit race's old ancestor told me that if you return, please go and see him. He has something to discuss with you." Understood. Itianyan nodded his head and walked inside with little Phoenix. Along the way, Itianyan held little Phoenix's hand and walked inside. The surrounding guards looked at each other and wondered why the prefecture lord brought back a child. In the past, he would occasionally bring back some people, but this time he brought back a child. "Daddy, where is this place? It looks so beautiful." Little Phoenix looked around curiously. She was very curious about this unknown world. Little Phoenix had been staying in the pet pen before, so she didn't know the situation outside. "This is my residence. You can also live here in the future." Itianyan smiled and said. Not long after he walked inside, he happened to meet Iyue and the others. When they saw Itianyan coming over with a child, their beautiful eyes suddenly lit up. "Prefecture Lord, why did you bring back a little girl? She looks so cute. Let me hug her." Iyue came over to hug him, but little Phoenix hid behind Itianyan, stared at her, and said, "Don't come over. I won't let you hug me." "Just let me hug you. I'll take you to eat delicious food." Iyue began to tempt. No, I only want to be with Daddy." Little Phoenix completely rejected the outside world. "Daddy, he's your daddy?" Iyue pointed at Itianyan and said in amazement, "Yes, he's my daddy." Little Phoenix tightly pulled Itianyan's arm. "Prefecture Lord, I always thought you were alone. I didn't expect you to have a child outside." Iyue was shocked and took a few steps back, shocked by the news. "Ahem. Don't talk nonsense. It's a long story." Itianyan felt helpless. This title was indeed very misleading. At this time, Shirshuyan walked out, and when she saw little Phoenix, she also asked curiously, "Tianyan, where did you kidnap such a cute little girl this time? Usually I thought you brought back some cultivators, but this time you didn't even let go of a little girl?" Shirshuyan looked at him strangely. When little Phoenix saw Shirshuyan, his eyes lit up, and he actually rushed over and shouted, "Mother!" "What?" Everyone who passed by was stunned. Didn't they say that palace lords couldn't have Taoist partners? This was not the key point. It seemed that this child was with Itianyan. And if they looked carefully, it really seemed that there was some resemblance to Shirshuyan. "You child, what nonsense are you talking about?" Shirshuyan's pretty face blushed, frightened by this title. "This is the smell of mother. I smelled it on Daddy." Little Phoenix smiled brightly and said, "I'm sure I'm not mistaken." Itianyan was very embarrassed. He still had Shirshuyan's smell on him. He didn't expect little Phoenix to judge that it was his mother. Wasn't this memory a bit messed up? All of a sudden, the place exploded, and many people were dumbfounded. This was big news, and many people couldn't accept it for a while. They knew that Tianyun and Shi Shuyan had a good relationship. It was not a big deal if they were really together. After all, they didn't have any blood relationship. It was not a big deal to become Taoist partners. But suddenly a child came out. This was really a bit too sudden. Misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Chapter 457. All of them were shocked by Little Phoenix's words and didn't know what to say. Could it be that Tianyun and Shi Shuyan were having an affair in private? But this was not right. They were in love with each other, so there was no need to worry. Could it be the identity of the palace lord? This was a dead rule that could be removed at any time. There was nothing that couldn't be changed. It was said that the palace lord didn't have a Tao companion. This was the result of the original palace lord's resentment towards the old ancestor, so he announced this rule. People were alive, but rules were dead. It was not a problem to change it at will. But now there was such a change, it was really surprising. They didn't know what to say. Seeing this scene, they were a little embarrassed. Could it be that they wanted them to recognize each other? This is really a misunderstanding. Tianyun smiled bitterly. Tianyun, what is going on? You have to explain. Shi Shuyan didn't know what to say. Suddenly being hugged and called mother, anyone would feel shocked. This is a long story. Before things get out of hand, I'll tell you first. Tianyun brought them to one of the conference rooms and then told them the general situation and confessed the identity of Little Phoenix. There was nothing he couldn't confess. Everyone present was his acquaintance, so they would never betray him. After knowing the real situation, their expressions were even more colorful. They didn't expect this little girl to be a phoenix. Tianyun slightly opened her clothes, revealing a little phoenix feather. He looked up at everyone innocently and said, "See, when I found this little phoenix, it was still very small. Who knew that after eating too much netherworld fire, it became like this, and even called me father? So it was like this." They suddenly understood, but their hearts were still very shocked. They didn't expect a living phoenix to appear in front of them, and even turned into a human. Yen, you can call me father in the future, but don't call her mother, okay? Tianyun taught Yen. He didn't know the name of Little Phoenix, but he knew that when Fire Phoenix entrusted Little Phoenix to him, she called her Yen. No, the one who refuted was not Yen, but Shi Shuyan. She grabbed Yen, and glared at him. She can call me whatever she wants. There's no need to correct her. She looks cute, so I'll take her as my goddaughter. What's wrong with that? This. Tianyun smiled bitterly. He was not afraid of being misunderstood. If they mistakenly thought that she was their daughter, it would be troublesome. He thought for a moment, then nodded and said, "Well, this needs to be explained. Don't expose Yen-er's identity. Just say that I brought her back from the outside, and I've accepted her as my goddaughter." Only then did Shi Shuyan nod in satisfaction, her expression full of joy. Yi and the others all looked at him enviously. After understanding the situation, they heaved a sigh of relief. At least it wasn't that sudden. After they left, Tianyun whispered in Shi Shuyan's ear, "If you want to give birth to one, we'll give birth to one after some time, okay?" As soon as these words came out, Shi Shuyan's ears turned red. She didn't expect Tianyun to say such bold words. She couldn't help but push him. "What nonsense are you talking about? I'll take Yen to play first." After saying that, she walked out with Yen. Godmother will take you to eat delicious food, okay? Okay. Yen immediately followed, without the slightest feeling of rejection. Tianyun touched his nose and looked at the back of the two girls. He smiled and said, "You belong to me." Shi Shuyan had long been deeply rooted in his heart, and no one could replace her. After everything was over, he must make Shi Shuyan his Tao companion. He had this idea for a long time, and it hadn't changed until now. They weren't related by blood at all, and they got along so well with each other. The burning passion in his heart was about to explode. If it weren't for the fact that he had so many things to do, He would have been with Shi Shuiyun a long time ago. He was now waiting for the establishment of the Heavenly Clouds Empire to be completed, and then he would officially announce Shi Shuiyun as the Divine Lady to manage the Heavenly Clouds Empire with him. Immediately, he went to look for the Spirit Race Old Ancestor alone, and he found that the Spirit Race Old Ancestor was looking at something on the map. When he saw Tianyun, he smiled and said, "Spirit King, you are here. I have selected a few places for the imperial capital. You can come and have a look." Tianyun walked over and looked at the map for a while. He quickly locked on to one of the places and said, "Let's do it here. It's located in the center. I also think this is a good place. At present, it seems that this is the best place. There is a spiritual vein underground, and it can be used to build the Imperial Defense Great Array." The Spirit Race Old Ancestor nodded. He already had a goal in mind, but he knew that Tianyun was the one who decided the location of the Imperial capital, so he had to wait for him to come back. "Then let's choose this place. I don't know much about this, so I'll leave it to the Old Ancestor." Tianyun glanced at it casually, and his eyes suddenly focused on one of the places on the map. He pointed at the map and said, "Is this the Netherworld Passage?" "Yes, this is the Netherworld Passage, a dangerous place in the Netherworld continent. It's similar to the Coiling Dragon Cave in the Heavenly Dragon Empire. Spirit King, do you want to build the Imperial capital near this place?" "I can't do that. The surrounding environment is quite dangerous, and it's quite dangerous to build the Imperial capital here." "No, I just remembered something," Tianyun said. What he recalled was the two treasures that Prime Minister Long and Ming Chen had dropped, which made him lock onto this place. Netherworld Passage Map. Detailed information about the Netherworld Passage. Dangerous areas are marked. Recommended for Void Spirit Stage and above. Netherworld Treasure Map. Treasure Map of the Netherworld. Only those who pass through the Netherworld Passage can use the Netherworld Passage. Recommended for Void Spirit Stage and above. Tianyun had checked these two items before, but there was very little useful information. He didn't even know where the Netherworld Passage was, so how could he use it? "So there is a Netherworld Passage here. Does it lead to the Netherworld? Does this Netherworld Passage really lead to the Netherworld?" Tianyun asked. "Rumor has it that some people went to explore it, but no one ever came back. It's much more dangerous than the Coiling Dragon Cave." The Spirit Race Old Ancestor said, "Spirit King, do you want to go there?" "Yes, I do." Tianyun's eyes flashed. He was more or less tempted by the Coiling Dragon treasure map. The things he obtained from the Coiling Dragon treasure map were good. Now that he urgently needed to become stronger, it would certainly be of great help to him. "Spirit King, I know that your cultivation is very strong now, but you have to be careful when going to these dangerous places. The backbone of our empire is you. If something bad happens to you, our empire will collapse," the Spirit Race Old Ancestor reminded. Chapter 458. The Spirit Race Old Ancestor did not try to persuade Tianyun. He just smiled and said, "No matter what the Spirit King chooses, we will support you. We will take care of everything here. You can be at ease as the Spirit King." Tianyun smiled. He needed this feeling, but Run Long could not do it. There were many talented people in the Heavenly Dragon Empire, but they were not as united as Tianyun, especially since he had been away for a few years. He had to stay in the Heavenly Dragon Empire. After choosing the area, Tianyun basically has nothing to do, so he took advantage of the free time. Tianyun came to the cultivation room and immediately opened the Super Enhanced Lottery Roulette. He won't waste the chance to draw the Super Enhanced Lottery Roulette. "Open for me." Tianyun used this chance, and soon the lottery roulette began to spin rapidly. At the same time, he activated his luck aura, and his luck aura exploded all of a sudden. Tianyun upgraded his luck aura once before, so his luck aura became even more amazing. With such a high luck points, he did not believe that he could not get a godly skill. He had not gotten a godly skill in this version, so he must try his best to see if he could get a godly skill. He had obtained a lot of godly skills, but who would complain about having too many godly skills? The more godly skills, the better. He would get as many as he could get. After using the lottery roulette, the enemy would definitely be killed. It must be a godly skill. It must be a godly skill. Tianyun prayed in his heart. His luck points were so high, and he had such a powerful lucky halo. How could he not get a godly skill? Soon, the lottery roulette slowed down. In the end, the needle stopped at the special category, not the godly skill. I still can't get a godly skill. Tianyun could not help but feel a little disappointed. It seemed that the godly skill was too difficult to get. Even if he had a good luck points, he would not be able to get a godly skill easily. As for how the enhanced lottery roulette worked, he wasn't too sure, but one thing was for sure. The higher the difficulty of the roulette, the lower the chances of getting a rare item. However, it was already quite good to be able to draw the second category of rare items. I wonder what it could be. Tianyun was still a little excited. After all, these were the second rarest items. So far, he hadn't gotten anything bad, so he was still looking forward to it. Gulp! A small box fell into his inventory, and he excitedly opened it. Soon, a treasure appeared in front of him. Congratulations to player Tianyun for successfully obtaining the rare item, Phantom Cloak. Phantom Cloak, immune to all attacks within the Spirit King stage for 10 seconds. Cool down, 2 hours. Good stuff. Tianyun couldn't help but shout. This effect was the same as the shadow cloak from before, maybe even longer. The most important thing was that the resistance was greatly increased. The shadow cloak could only resist attacks within the core transformation stage, so this was undoubtedly a life-saving item. Sure enough, this kind of enhanced roulette is very good, even if it's a consumable item. If it's given to him for the lottery, it doesn't matter, but if he bought it for the lottery, it's not worth it if he gets a consumable item. 2 million crazy points. It's not that easy to earn. With this treasure, it means that he will be safer, and he won't have any problem breaking into those dangerous places. This time, entering the Netherworld passage will undoubtedly be safer. Tianyun nodded and walked out of the cultivation room. Soon he found Shuiyun. She was eating spirit fruits with Yen. Yen didn't refuse anything and ate quite happily. Seeing the situation of the two, Tianyun smiled. They really look like mother and daughter. But when he saw Yen, his heart moved. Should I send Yen back to the phoenix nest first? First of all, this is a task. If completed in addition to the good reward, he can also get the help of the phoenix. Thinking about it, it's better to do this first and put the Netherworld passage aside. After thinking about it, Tianyun came to them and said, "Aunt, I plan to send her back to the phoenix nest first. Her mother entrusted me to send her back to the phoenix nest. Are you going to send her back?" Shuiyun felt a little reluctant. She just accompanied her for a little while, and she still felt very reluctant to send her back. Yes, I have to complete the task given by others. Tianyun made a vow before, so he still has to complete it. Even if it's not for the task, he still has to send Yen back to the phoenix nest. That is the best place for her to live. The outside world is not her real home. All right then. Shuiyun sighed and immediately asked, "Do you know where the phoenix nest is?" "There shouldn't be a problem. I will come back soon." Tianyun has the guidance of the soul, so he believes that finding the phoenix nest will not be a big problem. Without the guidance of the soul, he really has to think about the situation, whether or not he should send her back first. Now that he has the guidance of the soul, it's different. This way, he can quickly finish the task. Not only can he complete the task, but he can also complete the task. "Daddy, where are we going?" Yen kept stuffing spirit fruits into her mouth, unable to stop. "Home." Tianyun looked at her and couldn't help but smile. She is simply a foodie. "Home." Yen's clear eyes flashed a strange light, as if she was thinking of something, but she couldn't think of what it was. every mythological beast will be injected with a certain amount of memory by their parents, and when they reach a certain age, it will officially open. So this word is quite touching in her heart, but she can't think of anything for a while. After dealing with some matters, Tianyin did not delay and immediately flew out with Yen. He doesn't know when Ming Chen's forces will attack, but what he needs to do now is to quickly complete the task and improve his own forces. However, before leaving, he left 2 dragons behind and did not leave any pets behind in order to protect the safety of this place. He is not here, but a bunch of pets are here. Resisting some strong enemies is not a problem. After flying with Yen, he immediately used the guidance of the soul and at the same time said, "Help me find the phoenix nest." With a buzzing sound, a ray of light enveloped him, and he immediately felt a pulling force that continuously pulled him forward. He immediately followed this feeling and flew forward. After flying for a long time, he saw a gloomy passageway surrounded by a pitch-black forest. It looked eerie and terrifying. From here it can't be. Chapter 459. Just as he was about to say that if he missed this opportunity, he would send Yen back to the phoenix's nest and come back to investigate. He didn't expect that the way to the phoenix's nest was actually this netherworld passageway. This was strange. Could it be that the phoenix's nest was in the innermost depths? Tianyin took out the netherworld passageway map. The general situation of the netherworld passageway was marked on the map. Although some were not recorded, most of it was on this side. If one looked closely, it was a straight line leading inside without any bends. Was this really easy to walk on? If one really thought that way, they would definitely die a terrible death. Because on this netherworld passageway map, there were several rather dangerous places that were specially marked in red, indicating that this place was very dangerous. But that was all. Other than that, there were no other details. It was very fake. It seemed useless, but it was still somewhat useful. At least one knew where the danger was and how to act. In general, there was only one path. However, one could use one's own ability to reasonably avoid it and reduce the degree of danger to the minimum. I didn't expect to come here in the end. It's completely along the way. Tianyin looked around. It was pitch black all around, as if ink had been splashed. The entire area was dyed black, including the ground. Indistinctly, a wave of black gas emerged from the ground and gradually seeped over. However, just as it approached Tianyin, it was dispersed. It had no effect on him at all. Tianyin knew that it wasn't because his aura was too strong, but because he had the title of Soul Ferryman, which prevented these evil beings from invading him. Yen who was beside him, was different. The black gas gradually seeped in and drilled into her body. However, with a wave of her hand, a wave of phoenix fire emerged from her body and dispelled the black gas. "Daddy, what is this place? It looks very uncomfortable." Yen didn't feel afraid. She only felt that the invasion of the black gas made her very uncomfortable. "It's fine. It will pass soon." Tianyin thought for a moment and said, "Yen don't resist later. I will try." Yen didn't quite understand what Tianyin was talking about. Tianyin didn't answer. He just wanted to keep Yen in the pet space, which would undoubtedly be safer. However, when he tried to do so, he instantly sucked Yen in without any difficulty. "It's really done." Tianyin's eyes lit up. Previously, he had thought that it wouldn't work, but he didn't expect that he could still absorb it. It seemed like he had to try more sometimes. When he took Yen back, everything became much simpler. Yen's cultivation was too low, so it wasn't suitable for her to stay in this place. If there was any danger, he wouldn't be able to take good care of it, so it would be best if he could keep it in the pet space. The pet bar was equivalent to a space. When Yen was kept in it, it wasn't that she couldn't move. She was just staying in a special space. Because Yen was alone inside, it was a bit boring. "Yen you stay inside. Don't run out, understand?" Tianyin comforted. "Wait until we leave this place. I will call you out." "Got it, father." Yen didn't make a fuss. She felt very uncomfortable coming out, so she didn't go out. However, Tianyin used the Netherworld Pearl to give her a lot of Netherworld fire and let her eat it slowly. This way, it wouldn't be too boring. Sure enough, when she obtained a lot of Netherworld fire, Yen-Er's frowning eyebrows suddenly relaxed, and she wholeheartedly focused on eating. Tianyin nodded in satisfaction. Yen-Er's appetite was really big. It seemed that she couldn't fill it no matter what. He didn't know if all phoenixes were like this. After solving this matter, he looked at the situation in front of him again. After looking at it for a while, he lifted his feet and walked inside. Just as he walked in, the surrounding black gas invaded in this direction, but it was expelled outside. There was no problem at all. As long as it was an evil being, it could be expelled, saving him a lot of trouble. This netherworld passageway looks really gloomy and cold. I wonder what the situation will be like when it leads to the netherworld. Tianyin had never been to the netherworld. It was very likely that Ming Chen came from the netherworld. At that time, it was possible that he would meet Ming Chen's divine nation forces. Before coming, he had a little understanding of the situation here. The netherworld passageway was a big danger zone. It was even more dangerous than the Coiling Dragon Cave. It could be seen from the surrounding situation. There was not a single cultivator in the surroundings. Who would dare to come here? There was only one purpose for coming here, and that was to go to the netherworld. As for whether or not they successfully reached the netherworld, no one knew. However, one thing was very clear. Basically, there was no return. It was possible that they were very comfortable in the netherworld and did not choose to come back. It was also possible that they died in the netherworld. These were all possibilities. Rumor had it that the entire area was divided into 3 realms: Heaven Realm, Mortal Realm, and Netherworld. Among them, the divine nation forces were divided into Heaven Realm and Netherworld. However, it was really difficult to define which side was good or bad, because there were very few people who knew about the situation. At least Ming Chen was from the Netherworld. This gave Tianyin a very bad impression of the Netherworld. Logically speaking, the phoenix nest should be in the Heaven Realm. However, the soul guidance led him to the Netherworld. This was a little strange. In any case, Tianyin had already continued forward. He followed the traction and walked forward. As he went deeper, the surrounding black gas became more and more intense. More and more of it surged towards him. If he was completely invaded by this black gas, he would die. This was a corrosive black gas. Once completely invaded, he could only become the fertilizer here. Swish, swish, swish. Suddenly, there was a sound of something piercing through the air. Several sharp thorns stabbed towards him. Tianyin had already sensed it. He quickly moved to the side and easily dodged the attack. When he looked up, he realized that it was not a cultivator who attacked him. It was the giant tree beside him. Several sharp branches were like sharp swords, stabbing towards him. If his cultivation was low, he would have already been pierced. Xiong! Tianyin didn't hesitate to throw out immortal fire and instantly ignited the demon tree. As if it met its nemesis, the demon tree was quickly ignited. The dense branches twisted crazily and issued a strange squeak sound. In less than a moment, it completely turned into a pile of ashes. Ding! Successfully killed the demon tree. Reward: 36,000 EXP, 3,600 Crazy Point, 100 SPs. Obtain Demon Tree Sap and Demon Tree Leaves. Chapter 460. As soon as he came in, he was attacked by the demon tree. From the appearance, there was no difference, but when the demon tree suddenly attacked, those with low cultivation will die without a doubt. Not to say low cultivation, but at least Spirit Core Realm was easily killed. This is the situation when he just came in. He doesn't know what will happen in front of him. This place is really strange. There are demon trees here. Tianyin ignored these demon trees and continued to walk inside. Not long after he walked, several sharp branches attacked him, and then he threw a flame at them. easily killing the demon trees. They are all spirit core realm. The experience gained is not high, not low, for the past is very good. But for now, this experience is too little. He is too lazy to use crazy mode. Because it is not a big waste of crazy point. If it was before, it would be okay. But now, his crazy point is going to explode. Along the way, occasionally there are demon trees attacking him. The number is not many, but it is a sudden attack. This is really meaningless for him. His cultivation is still too low. He can easily kill them. This is the first danger point. It is marked on the map. As he continued to go deeper, he began to see some bones lying on the ground. Most of them were decayed. Even the bones were gradually swallowed by the soil here, a little bit corroded, and then completely turned into fertilizer. After passing through this gloomy forest, a wide, long river came into view. It looks very dark, like a river of ink. There are towering cliffs around, on top of which grow spirit grass and spirit flowers. Tianyin glanced at it. The grade is not low. This is not the point. The point is that he can finally see people here. He saw a group of cultivators building their own boats, cutting down giant trees from the side, and then put together a boat. It seems that they are ready to cross the river. After building the boat, some began to climb up to the shore. They want to pick the spirit grass and spirit grass. 4th or 5th grade spirit grass and spirit flowers are still very attractive to them. Overall, most of the cultivators are core transformation realm. There are also some spirit core cultivators, but no void spirit cultivators. Core transformation realm cultivators can fly, but they can't fly here. Tianyin can feel that this place is like coiling dragon cave. Even if he wants to fly, he will be suppressed by a force. If they can fly, why would they build a boat? They would have already flown over. This place is really lively. Tianyin glanced at them. They are divided into several teams. There are men and women. They are all cooperating with each other to build a boat. His appearance suddenly attracted a lot of attention. They are looking at him up and down. Some merely glanced at him and ignored him, while others looked at him a few more times, sizing him up from head to toe. No one knew what they were thinking. My name is Rin Liangchen. Brother, are you heading to the netherworld? Are you here to pick some spiritual herbs? While some of them were sizing him up, some of them came up to him without hesitation. It was one of the few cultivators in the group who spoke. The other teams have 4 or 5 people, but they only have 3 people. It is a bit embarrassing. Go to the ghost world. Tianyin looked at the middle-aged man who is at 3rd level core transformation realm. He doesn't know which sect he belongs to. Go to the ghost world? It just so happens that all of us are heading to the netherworld together. If I may be so bold as to ask, how high is your cultivation base? Ren Liangchen asked. They can't see through Tianyin's cultivation. They just think that he is very young. Core transformation realm. Tianyin answered. Brother Ren, do you think he is reliable? At this time, a sharp voice came from the side. A man in his 30s walked over and looked at Tianyin coldly. Tianyin looks too young. He gives people a very unreliable feeling. Although it was impossible to determine their appearance, there were some people with high cultivation who looked like youths. This was not unheard of. There were some people who looked like they were in their 20s, but in fact, they were already in their 30s or 40s. Not everyone could reach the core transformation stage in their 20s. It is the same for female cultivators. Even if they are in their 60s or 70s, they still look like they are in their 20s. However, looking young doesn't mean that you can live a long life. Once you reach the end of your life, no matter what you do, you will not be able to stop aging. You will become old quickly. It was one thing for women to deliberately make themselves young. But if men were to make themselves very young, it would make other cultivators feel disgusted. They would look like gigolos. This is why people think that he is not reliable. They don't know that this is his real age. However, since Tianyin told him about his cultivation, Ren Liangchen nodded and felt satisfied. If you don't want it, we want it. Another middle-aged man smiled and walked over to Tianyin. Brother, do you want to come with us? We are also going to the ghost world. Do you want to go together? Lu Long, what do you mean? Did I say I don't want it? Ren Liangqin frowned. He didn't even answer, but the other side came to take him away. Of course, he will not be happy. The netherworld passageway was extremely dangerous, and every extra person counted. Unless they were very close to each other, they would choose to form a team with a few more people. That way it would be safer. You didn't say it, but the people in your team did. Lu Long smiled and said, "Come with me. We welcome you very much." Yi Tianyan looked at Lu Long's team. There are a few spirit core stage cultivators here. Overall, their strength is not bad. However, there are too many people, so he prefers to act with fewer people. I don't mean to exclude this friend. I just want to know what Brother Rin thinks. Is there a problem? The cold-faced man was expressionless. It seems that he always has this kind of expression when he talks. Lung Hu, you're really cold. I advise you to change your temper a little. Otherwise, you won't even know what happened when you get killed outside. Lu Long glanced at him coldly and then looked at Yi Tianyan. He wanted to see what Yi Tianyan thought. Yi Tianyan looked at Lung Hu and said, "Thank you for your invitation, but I choose to join you." "Is that so? Then I wish you all the best." After seeing Yi Tianyan refuse him, Lu Long snorted coldly, no longer give him a good face, turned around and walked away. "Welcome, how should I address you?" Ren Liangqin asked with a smile. "I am Yi Tianyan." Yi Tianyan removed the word Tian. Although his name was not very famous, it was better to keep it a secret. "Oh, it's Brother Yi. This way, please. We are still building the boat, so please wait for a while. Once it is done, we can set off." Ren Liangqin explained with a smile. Lung, who has always been like this. Don't be fooled by his attitude. He is still very caring. It's just that his tone is used to it. Yi Tianyan nodded and did not mind. He could obviously tell. He could tell how good their impression of him was at a glance. Among them, Lung Hu and Ren Liangqin's team had the least hostility towards him. The rest did not have any good impression of him, so he naturally would not choose to join them, especially Lu Long. He did not have a good impression of him. It seemed that he had found so many people and did not reject anyone. Even so, he did not have a good impression of him. He felt that his smile was especially fake. Especially after the rejection, he caught the killing intent that flashed in his eyes. Chapter 461. Yi Tianyan's appearance didn't attract much attention. Only 2 teams invited him, and the rest ignored him. The other team's cultivation wasn't bad, and they seemed to be on the same side, so it was normal that they didn't invite him. Ren Liangqin's team was on the same side, but they didn't have enough people, so they wanted to invite someone. As for Lu Long's side, he didn't reject anyone. There were too many crooks mixed in with the honest folks. "Is there anything I can help you with?" Yi Tianyan was embarrassed to just stand there, so he wanted to see if there was anything he could help with. "Just stay there. Leave this to us. You only need to conserve your energy and be ready for battle when you head out. We don't need cowards here. If you're afraid of death, I advise you to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, this river Styx will become your grave." Lung, whose voice was still as cold as ever, without any emotion. This was advice, but more of it was the truth. It was just that the truth sounded a little harsh. No wonder people said that Lung, who didn't know how to talk. His tone was harsh, as if he didn't like Ren Liangqin. "Lung Hu, don't be so blunt. Who doesn't know how dangerous this place is? Those with weak cultivation can't even enter the river, let alone come here. I think, brother, you must have some ability." Ren Liangqin glared at him, signaling him to be more alert. It was easy to arouse disgust if Lung, who kept being blunt. "Big brother Rin, I'm just telling the truth. It's not like this hasn't happened before. They're all arrogant, but they don't even have the ability and they only know how to harm others." Lung, who didn't even buy his boss's words, he immediately turned his head to look at Yi Tianyan and said, "I hope you can be smart later. My words are just like that. I don't want you to be strong, but at least don't stab us in the back and don't drag us down. This way, we can trust you with our backs. We've never been to this river Styx before, so we don't know how dangerous it is along the way. At least we know that we need to trust each other. I don't know which faction you're from, but if you join us, you'll have to put down your pride and listen to our instructions. Lung, who continued to exhort Itianyan. After he finished speaking, he threw a bottle of medicine to Itianyan and said, "This is an antidote. It's specially made to counter the poison of the Styx River. As long as you come into contact with the water of the Styx River, you must immediately take this antidote. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable." Itianyan took the detoxification pill and narrowed his eyes at Lung Hu. He didn't expect Lung Hu to have a sharp mouth, but a soft heart. He had just joined the group, and he was already giving him all sorts of instructions. Yet he was even giving him pills now. Clearly, he thought that he was a teammate now that he had joined the group, so he had to take good care of him. Lung, who is just like that, brother E, don't mind him. The man who was building the boat smiled and said, "I am Yang Jiwen, their brother. We are going to explore the netherworld together. Staying here is too restrictive." He continued building the boat as he spoke. The boat they built was very simple. It was just a boat made of a few pieces of wood. Itianyan smiled and said, "Of course I know this. It's Brother Lung's kindness. I'm already very happy that you accepted me." Itianyan wasn't the kind of person who didn't like to listen to harsh advice. Besides, what Lung Hu said was basically right. If he didn't listen to his orders, then the plan would be messed up. "Brother E, it's good that you can accept it." Ren Liangqin smiled and immediately said in a low voice, "Brother E, it's good that you didn't join Lu Long's side. Lu Long's reputation is very bad. He is sinister and often betrays his friends. The people over there didn't listen to us. It seems that they were bewitched by Lu Long. I guess Lu Long has too many enemies, so he had no choice but to go to the netherworld." Ren Liangqin shrugged helplessly. They had already tried to persuade them. If they didn't listen, then there was nothing they could do. Itianyan nodded. It seemed that Lu Long gave him the same feeling. He felt that Lu Long was very hypocritical. Fortunately, he didn't join that side. "Brother Rin, I have a question that I don't know if it's appropriate to ask," said Itianyan after thinking for a while. "It's fine. Ask away," said Rin Liangqin. "Are you planning to go to the netherworld to develop? Is the restriction here so strict? Have you ever considered joining a major force or an empire?" asked Itianyan. "Oh, I see. We have all thought about it. There are indeed several imperial forces so far. For example, the newly emerged Heavenly Clouds Mansion. I heard that they are preparing to establish an empire. There are also other imperial forces. They are actually not bad, but we are all rogue cultivators. We don't like to join these forces because it's too restrictive. Otherwise, we wouldn't go to the netherworld at will. It's a dangerous place. We don't know where to go, so we just want to explore it. There are stronger forces and more resources in the netherworld." Big Brother Rin is right. The three of us are used to wandering outside, so we don't need to join any forces. If we join a force, will we go to the netherworld? Most of the people here are rogue cultivators who don't belong to any force, so they choose to go to the netherworld. Either that or they're here to pick spiritual herbs, or they've provoked some sort of force, so they fled to the netherworld to hide. Yang Jiwen interjected. Itianyan nodded. What Ren Liangqin said was true. They either don't want to develop here, or they are hiding from their enemies. No wonder those people around him were so fierce. They didn't care about him at all. As long as it wasn't their enemy, they would be too lazy to do anything. "Brother E, are you not a rogue cultivator?" asked Yang Jiwen. The other two looked at Itianyan and asked for his opinion. "I'm not a rogue cultivator, but I'm almost there. I plan to go to the netherworld to see the situation." Itianyan smiled. It wasn't a lie. He was no different from a rogue cultivator now. They were all prefecture lords who didn't have to do anything. They looked at each other but didn't continue to ask questions. It was a private matter. Whether he was a rogue cultivator or not, it had nothing to do with them. They were just passing by and forming a team. Once they entered the netherworld, they would go their separate ways and would not have too many interactions. Soon the boats were almost built. The others had also built their boats. They put them on the water and swam inside. Itianyan also built a few boats at once. Everyone prepared a few boats and put them in their storage rings. Because they didn't know how dangerous the journey would be, they had to prepare a few more boats. Otherwise, if the boats broke down, they wouldn't be able to swim. The poison of the Netherworld River was too strong. People would die if they stayed in the water. Brother E, we are going in. Are you ready? Ren Liangqin looked serious. I'm ready. We can go at any time. Tianyan nodded. Chapter 462. Soon, the four of them got on the raft and started rowing with a wooden plank. They moved forward at a moderate speed. At this moment, they seemed to have become ordinary people again. They had to row slowly. They didn't dare to row with their hands at all. Otherwise, they would be poisoned to death by the dark water before they reached the ghost world. Even in the process of rowing, there was black gas constantly released from the dark river, wrapping around them. Because of the effect of the tidal, Tianyan could repel the black gas. The others just had to operate the spiritual power in their bodies to repel the black gas. Otherwise, if the black gas invaded their bodies, they would really die on the way to the ghost world. Tianyan also got a wooden plank and rowed with them. When he moved the dark water, he felt like he was moving a thick liquid. It was quite difficult to move. With his strength, it was still very easy. It was just that the others were rowing slowly, so he also slowed down. Otherwise, with his strength, he would definitely be much faster than now. As they rowed the boat, all of them wore solemn expressions as they looked around vigilantly, worried that some kind of attack would come. The outermost demon tree was quite dangerous, let alone the inside. Tianyan looked at them. He originally wanted to ask why they didn't go to the heaven realm, but in the end he didn't ask. Although this place was divided into 3 realms, among which the heaven realm didn't know how to go up, only the ghost world knew how to go down from here, so they all came here. We have to row vigorously to get out of here and reach the destination. The longer we stay here, the more danger we will be in. As long as we reach the ghost world and take root there, we can create a future. Rumor has it that there are a lot of spiritual medicines in the ghost world, and there are inheritances everywhere. When the time comes, I can take you to find them. Lu Long's voice came from the side. His words made the cultivators who followed him excited, and they all rowed harder. Brother Lu, we all listen to you. Each of their eyes showed a fanatical look, and they were all full of expectations for the future. Their cultivation is not low. They all believe this kind of empty promise. Tianyan frowned. This was like brainwashing. How could there be so many fools who believed it? If it was the body refinement stage, it would be fine. But those who followed him were all spirit core stage or core transformation stage. Brother E, the reason why so many people believe in him is because he has the map of the netherworld. There were also some other miscellaneous treasures that weren't a problem for them to pass through the netherworld passageway. He had shown them a little, so they were dead set on following him. Yang Juan said disdainfully, I don't believe him. Lu Long's reputation is too bad, but there are still many people who believe in him. Yes, I don't know where he got the map from. Only God knows if it's real or not. Anyway, we just have to act on our own, Ran Yongqin said. Tianyan didn't know who Lu Long was. He usually didn't care about these things. Hearing what they said, it turned out that Lu Long had something good on him. Otherwise, no one would believe it. Some people believed in him, and some people didn't. To him, it was better to trust himself. Immediately after, he glanced to the side and saw that there were 2 boats that were docked at the shore. Then, they started to climb up the stone walls. Obviously, they wanted to pick the spiritual herbs and flowers here. Not everyone wanted to go to the netherworld. If there was no absolutely safe route, not many people would go to the netherworld. Unless there was no other way, no one would go to the netherworld. It was too risky. Not long after climbing up the stone wall to pluck the spirit herbs, the stone wall suddenly trembled, opened its bloody mouth, and bit down on them. The core transformation stage cultivator reacted quickly and jumped to the side. Just as he was about to grab the stone wall moved again and opened its huge mouth to bite him again. This time the core transformation stage cultivator couldn't avoid it. He was swallowed by the stone wall and disappeared into it. This scene left everyone dumbfounded, especially those who hadn't seen it before. They were all shocked by this scene. Outside, the trees would attack them, but here the stone wall would attack them. Sure enough, no place was safe. If they were not careful, they would be attacked. Boom! At this time, a burst of explosion came from the stone wall. The core transformation stage cultivator was bounced out of the stone wall. He was in a mess. Because he couldn't fly, he quickly fell from the sky. Boom! This core transformation stage cultivator sank into the water and quickly rushed out of the water. He kept waving his hands and swam towards the ship, but his speed was quite slow. He used all his strength to swim forward, but as he swam, his face became darker and darker. It was obvious that the poison in the river Styx had invaded his body. Quickly, pull me up! The core transformation stage cultivator roared. His voice was a little hoarse. He couldn't even shout. Soon, his companion quickly rowed the boat to his side. When he came to his side, he didn't dare to use his hands. Instead, he stretched out a wooden plank and let his companion drag him up. After being dragged up, his whole body was black. It was no different from being poisoned. Especially the place where he was injured, it looked like it was rotten. It was really a horrible sight. Huff, 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 huff. Antidote, antidote. The core transformation stage cultivator lay on the wooden raft and gasped for breath. His companion immediately gave the antidote to his companion. The core transformation stage cultivator felt a little better, but it seemed that he couldn't move for the time being. A core transformation stage cultivator became seriously injured in the blink of an eye and lost his ability to move. This river Styx was really scary. However, his companion's treatment was not slow either. At least his injuries were stabilized. They seemed to be from a third-rank force. They seemed to be very skilled. It's just that they were unlucky and fell into the trap, Ren Liangchen said. Tianyan nodded. He knew a little bit about this place. The river Styx was the most poisonous place in this place. If they fell into the river Styx and there was no one to treat them, they would be waiting for death. It's so scary. Will we fall into the river Styx? Is the passage to the netherworld so dangerous? Can I go back now? At this time, someone on Lu Long's side showed fear and wanted to leave. You are already here, and you still dare to say such things? Lu Long glared at him and said angrily, If you don't have the courage, how can you become someone powerful in the future? Trust me, I will bring you to the netherworld successfully. After being comforted by him, they calmed down a little. However, they were still very worried about the situation inside. They are all a bunch of disorderly people. They want to go to the netherworld just because they are hot-blooded. They are simply courting death. Lung, who snorted and felt very disdainful. At the same time, he looked at Tianyan and said, Don't tell me you also have the same idea? If you are afraid, it is not too late to go back now. It is not shameful to retreat. Life is the most important thing. If you die, there is no medicine for regret. Lung, whose words were cold, but his last words warmed people's hearts. His expression was cold, but there was warmth in his heart. Tianyan smiled and said, Brother Lung, this is not enough to scare me. Chapter 463. Lung, whose words were full of sarcasm, but there was a hint of advice in his words. Tianyan understood what Lung Hu was trying to say, so he didn't think that Lung Hu was wrong. In the outside world, the hearts of people were sinister, so it was normal to be somewhat vigilant. Those who were enthusiastic at the beginning were more likely to cause problems. Lung Hu and the others were very normal. They were all extremely experienced cultivators. Only by obtaining their recognition would they truly help you. Do you know how to get there? Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He didn't think of this. He thought that they came here at the same time. We know a little, but we don't know the details. It should be the information spread by the people who came back from the ghost world, and we happened to collect some of it. Otherwise, we wouldn't dare to come here. Ren Liangqin said with a smile. Yi Tianyan didn't care about this. At least, he didn't think that they would be so reckless. As they moved forward, they got deeper and deeper into the ghost world. Soon, they lost the ships behind them. Now, only 3 teams were left. These were the teams that were going to the ghost world. The rest of the teams were here to collect spiritual herbs. It's harder to move here. It takes a little more effort. Lung, who looked at Yi Tianyan and said in a deep voice, "Can you still move? If you can't, we'll slow down." Lung, who was the first one to ask Yi Tianyan if he could move. It seemed that he thought that Yi Tianyan's cultivation was the lowest, so he wanted to take care of Yi Tianyan. After all, Yi Tianyan's qi was too weak. It was the effect of Yi Tianyan's qi, so it felt weak. The 3 of them were at the 5th or 6th level of the core transformation stage. Even if they were independent cultivators, it was already very good for them to reach this level. This kind of cultivator was not rare. Relatively speaking, there were quite a lot of them. Not every cultivator liked to join a sect. Yes, we can slow down here. It doesn't matter if we slow down. Yang Jiwen nodded in agreement. In fact, they all felt quite tired. They had consumed too much spiritual power. Every time they rode, it was like pushing a mountain. I'm fine. This is not a problem for me. I just need to continue moving forward at the same speed. I don't want to stay here any longer. Yi Tianyan smiled. He did not feel any pressure at all. Sure. Just tell me if you have any questions. We're on the same boat. We have to help each other, Ren Liangqin said. They thought that Yi Tianyan was trying to show off, so he slowed down a little. Overall, his speed was still impressive. Compared to Lu Long's team, their speed was slightly slower. Lu Long threw a sarcastic look at them and said, Ren Liangqin, why did you slow down? Are you out of energy? If you don't have the strength, go home and drink milk. He was very unhappy that Ren Liangqin had snatched him away. In addition, he already had some friction with Ren Liangqin, so he couldn't help but scold him. This bastard, Yang Jiwen wanted to say something, but Ren Liangqin shook his head and gestured for him to ignore Lu Long. Ignore him. Let's just move forward. It's good for everyone if we don't cause trouble here. A cold light flashed past Ren Liangqin's eyes. He was definitely unhappy, but it was better not to cause trouble for the big picture. Yi Tianyan looked over. Lu Long was happy. The people rowing the boat were all cultivators that he had tricked into coming. They were all willing to row for him. The more people there were, the faster the rowing speed would be. As they continued moving forward, Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. He immediately said, Big Brother Rin, I feel that something is wrong in front. Pay more attention to the surroundings. Something is wrong. I don't feel anything. Ren Liangqin looked into the distance. There was no difference from before. Other than the difficulty of rowing, there was no problem. However, they still listened to Yi Tianyun's words and slowed down a little. Obviously, the effect of Yi Tianyun's commander points had appeared. It was somewhat credible. As for Lu Long, he didn't slow down and continued to move forward. Sure enough, a moment later, a white shadow suddenly rushed out of the water and pounced on Lu Long. Before they could react, someone was thrown into the water. He didn't even have time to scream before he disappeared under the water and never got up again. It's a darkwater shark. Ren Liangqin's face darkened. They all saw what it was. It was a darkwater shark that lived here. It was a very powerful monster. Darkwater shark, monster at level 1 of the core transformation stage. It can resist the poison of dark water. Its body is highly toxic. If you are bitten, the poison will enter your body. If you don't find the antidote within 15 minutes, you will definitely die. The pet's potential is level 3. Its weakness is extreme fire. Killing it will give you the antidote. Darkwada shark skin, darkwada poison. The detailed information of the darkwada shark was exposed under E. Tianyun's investigation. This thing was really fierce. Its cultivation was at least at level 1 of the core transformation stage, and it would get higher and higher. The most important thing was that it could move in the darkwada, which was the biggest difficulty. Darkwada sharks could move in the water, but they couldn't. It was that simple. Splash! At this time, another darkwada shark rushed out of the water. But this time it didn't rush to Lulong, but to E. Tianyun. It just happened to bite E. Tianyun. It probably judged that E. Tianyun's cultivation was the lowest, so its target was him. The person who attacked Lulong before was also at the spirit core stage, so he prioritized killing the weaker ones. E. Tianyun's eyes flashed. Just when he was about to kill the darkwada shark, a cold light flashed and hit the darkwada shark fiercely. It was instantly hit and sent flying, leaving a deep mark on its hard shark skin. It was Lang Hu, who was relatively close to E. Tianyun. He was holding a high-grade soul tool giant axe in his hand, and he helped him kill the darkwada shark. Keep rowing. Let's get out of here, quickly. Ren Liangqin said sternly, only by leaving the area of the darkwada sharks will we be safe. E. Tianyun, check the map of the Netherworld Passage. This area was divided into an area, and they would be safe after leaving. But along the way, they would be attacked by the darkwada sharks, which was a headache. Lulong sped up the boat crazily and drove forward at a faster speed. Lulong shouted angrily, "Hurry up! Hurry up! Why do you save so much energy? Hurry up and row!" At the same time, the core transformation stage powerhouses helped to resist the attacks of the darkwada sharks. It was a little difficult, but it was still bearable. Every one of them used all their strength to row forward, and their speed became faster and faster. They were much faster than before, and they had completely forced out their potential. Only E. Tianyun's speed was much slower, and E. Tianyun couldn't row the boat. This made them dumbfounded. Why did E. Tianyun not row the boat at this time? Chapter 464. E. Tianyun had the same idea, but it didn't mean that the others had the same idea. They had never thought of taming netherwater sharks as pets. They weren't animal tamers, so they didn't think about it. However, when they saw that E. Tianyun didn't even help to row the boat, they were all stunned. Lung, who couldn't help but scold him, "Kid, what are you doing? Row the boat. There's no way to kill all the netherwater sharks here. There will only be more and more of them." Lung, who wasn't joking. There were more and more netherwater sharks around them, and their black bodies emerged from the water. They were ready to attack, ready to pounce on them. Once they smelled the smell of blood, they all showed their heads. They all stared at them as if they were looking for prey, and they were ready to pounce on them. However, E. Tianyun still didn't row the boat. The other two teams were rowing crazily, one faster than the other, and they couldn't wait to escape from here. "Yeah, row the boat quickly." Yang Jiwen couldn't help but say. He was very anxious now. E. Tianyun seemed to be scared out of his wits. He stood motionless on the spot. Lang Hu and Rin Liangqin were responsible for dealing with the netherwater sharks, so only E. Tianyun and Yang Jiwen were rowing the boat. So it wasn't very fast. Now that only Yang Jiwen was rowing the boat, the speed was even slower, and it was basically moving forward bit by bit. Ha ha ha! Luckily I didn't accept that silly kid. He's scared out of his wits. Lulong couldn't help but laugh when he noticed the situation. He was very glad that E. Tianyun didn't choose to join them, or he would be a burden. When the other team saw the situation, they couldn't help but sneer. They felt that it was really sad that they had encountered a silly kid who was scared out of his wits after seeing so many netherwater sharks. "Kid, what's on your mind?" Lung, who shouted, signaling him to wake up. "Row the boat quickly. Don't be afraid, we'll block them." Lung, who didn't fly into a rage or kick him into the water. Instead, he comforted Tianyin, telling him not to panic. Big brother Lung, don't worry. I'm not afraid of anything. Tianyin smiled faintly and said, I've been waiting for this opportunity, waiting for these netherwater sharks to approach. Otherwise, I really won't have a chance. What? They were confused. They had no idea what Tianyin was talking about. You guys stay here and watch me, that's all. After saying that, Tianyin threw out a wooden raft. Then he jumped onto the raft and stood alone in the area. This caused Lu Longlong to laugh, so hard that tears were coming out of his eyes. That foolish brat, charging forward alone, isn't he courting death? That's good. Let's attract all the netherwater sharks here. What a bunch of fools. After he said that, he killed the deep-water shark with his sword and threw the shark's body to Tianyin's side. The thick smell of blood spread in all directions, attracting more netherwater sharks. This scene enraged Run Liangqin and the others. Were they trying to kill them? Lu Long, what are you doing? Ren Liangqin shouted, Nothing much. Enjoy yourselves. We'll be leaving first. Lu Long laughed and swaggered off. Lu Long, if I catch up with you, I'll make you die a horrible death. Ren Liangqin was furious. He did not expect that he would be tricked at this critical moment. However, their attention was not on Lu Long, but on Tianyin. Tianyin jumped over alone. Lung Hu and the others were also dumbfounded. Not only did he not want to row the raft, but he also wanted to act like a hero. You brat, why are you acting like a hero? Hurry up and come back. We can deal with them. When Lung Hu lifted his giant axe and was about to go over to help, a netherwater shark had already pounced on Tianyin. Big brother Lung, you guys stay there. Trust me. Tianyin's eyes flashed, and a giant sword, a soul instrument, appeared in his hand. He did not take out a holy instrument to avoid scaring them. Moreover, it was more powerful, and it would not be easy to catch the netherwater shark. Then he swung the giant sword and slapped the netherwater shark down. The shark landed on the raft, and its huge body shook the raft violently. Fortunately, there were fewer people on the raft. Otherwise, they would not be able to withstand such a heavy netherwater shark. Roar! Roar! The netherwater shark roared. The attack did not hurt it at all. It was just a simple slap, and it did not hurt it at all. What kind of attack is that? Didn't you eat? It can't hurt the netherwater shark at all. Ren Liangqin, you have really found yourself a good teammate. Lu Long saw that so many netherwater sharks were attracted to the netherwater shark, and they did not feel too much pressure. All of them laughed, thinking that it was good to have an idiot. How could they not be happy that such a selfless idea had allowed them to leave this place smoothly? Big brother Lu, it's lucky that you did not ask him to come. Otherwise, we would be in big trouble. Yes, it's better not to accept some idiots. Otherwise, they will drag us down. With them as bait, we can successfully reach the netherworld this time. They were all excited, thinking that Tianyin was really their lucky star. When everyone thought that Tianyin was a fool, he had already stretched out his hand and his eyes flashed. Catch! Then a light enveloped the netherwater shark, and less than a moment later, a pleasant voice was heard. Ding! Successfully caught the netherwater shark. Obtained 300,000 experience points and 300 pet catching proficiency points. Without any difficulty, he successfully caught the netherwater shark. Not only was his level not low, but the most important thing was that his cultivation was higher, which greatly increased the success rate. Go down, Tianyin said to the netherwater shark. The netherwater shark jumped into the water and sank to the bottom of the river. Seeing this situation, everyone felt that something was wrong. The netherwater shark should have counterattacked. Why did it jump into the water so obediently? Then another netherwater shark rushed up, but it was slapped down by Tianyin and fell on the raft. He subdued the netherwater shark in the same way and let it fall into the water again. Lung Hu and the others looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. However, they could all see that Tianyin dealt with the netherwater sharks easily, but he did not hurt them. They did not know why. Hiss! This time, 2 netherwater sharks rushed over. Tianyin's eyes were cold, and he suddenly waved the giant sword in his hand. One of them was cut in half and fell into the water, and the other was slapped down and fell on the raft. This move was as fast as lightning. Many people could only see the afterimage, and they could not see what was going on at all. For a moment, everyone was stunned, wondering if they were seeing things. Catch! Tianyin used the catching skill again and successfully caught the 3rd netherwater shark. Then he jumped from the raft and returned to the original raft. Sorry to make you worry. Now we can leave. Tianyin smiled, slightly extremely relaxed. Good boy, your strength is not bad. Let's row the boat now. Lung, who immediately handed a wooden board to Tianyin so that he could row the boat. No, we don't need to row the boat. Tianyin pointed forward, and then 3 netherwater sharks appeared in front of the raft. They were very obedient. Let them pull our raft. Why do we have to row the boat ourselves? Chapter 465. The 3 netherwater sharks were very obedient in front of him. Except for these 3 netherwater sharks, the other netherwater sharks would not listen to his instructions. They were all surrounding him, ready to attack. They will listen to your orders. Ren Liangqin and the others were taken aback by Tianyin's actions. They couldn't believe that Tianyin was able to control them in the blink of an eye. Is he a beast tamer? Tianyin did not explain. He immediately took out a few ropes and tied them up. After that, he immediately ordered, "Go!" The 3 netherwater sharks immediately obeyed his order and dragged the raft forward at a high speed. Their speed was much faster than that of paddling before. They caught up with Lu Long and the others in an instant and easily overtook them. Take your time, you bunch of idiots. Tianyin sneered at them and continued to control the netherwater sharks to swim forward. They were born to live here, so they could easily pass through the lead-like netherwater and pull the raft forward. After passing them, the netherwater sharks behind them immediately shifted their target to Lu Long and the others because they had lost their target of Tianyin. They rushed over again, which made them scream in fear. Hurry up! Paddle! Lu Long hurriedly shouted when he saw the netherwater sharks rushing over so crazily. The other teams followed suit and shouted. They were all dumbfounded. They could only speed up and paddle forward. The previous ridicule was like a slap in their faces. They did not know what it felt like. Now it was their turn to escape. Looking at Tianyin, he was swimming forward very comfortably, and his speed was much faster than theirs. Is that guy still an animal tamer? What the hell is going on? Lu Long's heart was like a stormy sea. He had thought that Ren Liangqin had found a burden and lost money. He did not expect that it was their loss. All of a sudden, the situation has completely changed. Tianyin's side has a great advantage. He easily left them behind and became food for the darkwater sharks. On Tianyin's side, he too had not recovered from the shock. They all looked at him in shock, re-evaluated him, and didn't know what to say. Looking at Tianyin and the netherwater sharks pulling the boat in front of them, they wondered if they were seeing things. What's wrong? Tianyin looked at their shocked expressions and couldn't help but smile. Tianyin could understand why they were so shocked. Netherwater sharks were extremely difficult to tame, but they were tamed in the blink of an eye. Who wouldn't be shocked? Brother are you also a beast tamer? Ren Liangqin asked after a while. You could say that. Tianyin thought for a moment. Theoretically, he was a beast tamer, but he was much stronger than a beast tamer. Even a beast tamer couldn't tame 3 netherwater sharks in such a short time. So, you didn't kill the netherwater sharks just now to tame them? Lang Hu and the others remembered that Tianyin didn't kill the netherwater sharks before, and others thought that he didn't eat and couldn't exert any strength at all. Yes, if we hurt them, how could they help us pull the boat? Tianyin smiled faintly. Brother E, that's not very kind of you. You should have said that you are a beast tamer earlier. I thought you were scared out of your wits, and I was so worried. Yang Jiwen patted his chest. He was really scared out of his wits just now. There were so many netherwater sharks, and there was a person who was scared out of his wits. How could he not be scared? Would you believe me if I told you? Tianyin smiled. Well, I really don't believe it. The three of them looked at each other. It was really hard to believe. Even a beast tamer couldn't tame these netherwater sharks in such a short time. Of course, they rarely saw a beast tamer, but to tame a netherwater shark in such a dangerous place, according to common sense, it would take a long time. It would be fine if it was safer, but it was obviously not worth it to choose to tame the netherwater sharks in such a dangerous situation. It was too dangerous. Unless they could easily tame them in the blink of an eye, no one would be willing to stay. That's it. Since you are willing to take me with you, I will definitely help you. Otherwise, I will really feel a little guilty. Tianyin smiled and said, We were wrong about you just now. We really thought you were scared out of your wits. It turns out that you are very confident. Yang Jiwen laughed a few times and said apologetically, I hope you don't mind. Fortunately, I didn't say anything outrageous. Even if you said something outrageous, I don't mind. The situation was so urgent at that time. It's normal for you to do that. Tianyin certainly wouldn't mind. If it were him, he would also be anxious. Anyway, we are really glad that you can join us. Look, Lu Long and the others are far behind us. They can't catch up at all. Yang Jiwen laughed, and his laughter was full of joy. They were insulted just now, so they must be very unhappy. Now that Lu Long and the others were far behind them, they felt very comfortable. As they continued to move forward, they soon saw the shore. It seemed that there was only one section of the Netherworld River. If they kept going, it would be really troublesome. Look, we are going to the shore. They were pleasantly surprised. Although the netherwater sharks were pulling them, they still wanted to go to the shore as soon as possible. They would only feel slightly more at ease on the ground. If they could fly, it wouldn't be a problem. The problem was that they couldn't fly, so they would feel more at ease on the shore. However, the shore was gray, as if it was covered by a layer of fog. They couldn't see the situation inside at all. They couldn't even use their spiritual senses to easily explore the depths inside. It was undoubtedly more difficult. As expected, the road to the netherworld wasn't easy. The deeper they went, the more difficult it was. This should be the death fog. It will gather every once in a while. We can only go deeper after it disperses. It seems that we can't go in for now, Ren Liangqin said while looking at the death fog. Tianyin nodded. Of course, he knew this place. It was clearly marked in the Netherworld passage map. He even knew how to walk, but there were layers of fog. Even with the map, they couldn't walk easily. Therefore, after they went ashore, they could only wait for the fog to dissipate. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to go in. If one were to wander around randomly and take the wrong path, it would be a dead end. Especially if they couldn't walk back, that would be a real nightmare. If Ming Chen and the others came from this side, it would be really easy. But did they come from here? Tianyin frowned. If they came from here, it would be a little troublesome. Chapter 466. Ren Liangqin and the others stayed on the shore and observed the situation inside while recovering their spiritual power. They had consumed a lot of spiritual power during the battle with the Darkwater sharks. It should be said that they were consuming spiritual power at every moment because they had to resist the black gas that was constantly invading them. So, unless they left this place, they would have to consume spiritual power at every moment. The consumption of spiritual power was not low. The deeper they went into the black gas, the more amazing the effect was, so they needed to consume more spiritual power to resist. Of course, there was one exception, and that was Tianyin. He didn't feel anything because the black gas couldn't get close to him. Fortunately, he looked no different from the others. They were all repelling the black gas. The biggest difference was that Tianyin didn't need to consume any spiritual power at all, but they had to consume spiritual power all the time, so they had been taking recovery pills. They had made a lot of preparations to resist the black gas. Brother E, do you have recovery pills? If not, I've prepared a lot. I can share some with you. Ren Liangqin took out a few bottles of pills and handed them to Yi Tianyan. Thank you, big brother Ren. I'm prepared. If I didn't come prepared, I'd be an idiot. Yi Tianyan smiled and refused. His cultivation is much higher than them, so he doesn't need any recovery medicinal pill from beginning to end. Unless he encountered an extremely strong opponent, he really did not consume much spiritual power, let alone feel the slightest bit of pressure. If that's the case, I won't force you. Just let us know if you need anything. Ren Liangqin smiled. Yes, there's still a long way to go. We need to help each other to get through. Just let us know if you have any questions, Yang Jiwen added. Lung, who was silent for a while, then said, Just tell me if you need anything. Thank you. His voice was sonorous. Although it still sounded cold, it was clear that he was very grateful. Yes, we really have to thank you. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to get here so easily. They all looked at Yi Tianyan gratefully. They felt that it was great to be able to team up with him. It was all thanks to Yi Tianyan's help that he was able to get here so smoothly, so he must be grateful. Their attitude towards Yi Tianyan has become even better. After showing the standard he should have, he immediately got their approval. Before, they recognized his courage. Now they recognized his strength. Monster tamer was definitely a rare profession, much rarer than divine pattern master. However, very few people were passionate about it, mainly because it was too difficult and they could only control a few monsters. Unless one was born with a good understanding of demonic beasts, it was not recommended to become a beast tamer. It would be better to become a blacksmith. Let's talk about this when we get to Underworld. There's still a long way to go. Yi Tianyan looked at the Netherworld passage. They had only traveled a little more than half of the distance, and the rest of the journey wouldn't be easy. Yes, it's still too early to thank us. Ren Liangqin smiled and said, Brother Yi, you did well earlier, it's our turn now. We have been preparing for a long time to go to Underworld. We don't want Brother Yi to be the only one in the limelight. That's true. The three of us originally planned to come like this. Big Brother thought that we should bring more people, so I didn't object. Even without anyone's help, we still have a high chance of reaching Underworld successfully. Yang Jiwen's eyes flashed with confidence. Of course, with Brother Yi, it will be even easier for us. The more helpers we have, the better. They smiled knowingly. Their confidence in this trip to Underworld was boosted. Yi Tianyan didn't say anything. He knew from the Underworld passageway map that the situation later would be even more difficult. To them, it was a nightmare. To him, it wasn't too much pressure. It wouldn't be a problem to bring the three of them along. Seeing their enthusiasm, Yi Tianyan felt that it was not a bad idea to help them. As the death fog was more serious now, they could only wait here for it to disperse. The time it took for it to disperse and gather was not fixed, so they could only wait. After waiting for a long time, the sound of rowing came from behind. They all turned around to look. It was Lu Long and the others. There were only a few of them left now. Their cultivation was at the core transformation stage. There were no spirit core stage cultivators left. Obviously, all of them had died on the way and were eaten by the deep water sharks. Only the core transformation experts with higher cultivation could stay until the end, but they still looked very embarrassed. It was not easy to fight with the deep water sharks, especially when there were so many of them. No one knew how many deep water sharks there were in the river Styx, but there were many of them. The longer they stayed there, the more dangerous it was. You're really slow. You only came up now. You are almost as fast as a snail. I advise you to go home and drink milk. Ren Liangqin retorted fiercely. They immediately took out their weapons, and there was a hint of murderous intent in their eyes. Before, because there were deep water sharks around and they were in the river Styx, they didn't dare to fight at will, let alone talk back. But now it was different. They had all come ashore, and now it was time to settle the score. Lu Long's face suddenly changed when he saw their attitude. They had just experienced the baptism of the deep water sharks, and now it was Ren Liangchen's turn. As expected, they had to pay for what they had done. Brother Ren, I just said it casually. I hope you can forgive me and let me go like a fart. Lu Long immediately begged for mercy. They had expended a lot of energy now. If they fought with Ren Liangchen and the others, they would definitely die. Then your fart is really stinky. Yi Tianyin looked at him coldly and said, I don't know who just called me an idiot or a stupid boy. That's my fault. I shouldn't have said that. Lu Long said bitterly, I just got carried away, but I have the passage map to the inside. As long as you are willing to let me go and cooperate with me, I am willing to share it with you. Lu Long didn't want to cause a conflict with them. It was dangerous now, and the more people, the better. Everyone wanted to go to the netherworld, not to fight for treasures. Therefore, whoever had the passage map would more or less have a chance to cooperate. As expected, as soon as he said that, the eyes of the people around him lit up, especially the group from before. That's not necessary. Ren Liangchen looked at him coldly and said, Don't forget what you did before. You threw the deep water shark's body here and made us targets. Have you forgotten? Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. Of course. He had seen what had happened before. He was also very unhappy that he had been tricked. Becoming a target in such a dangerous place was basically no different from being dead. Chapter 467. Lu Long's face darkened when he heard Ren Liangchen's words. He thought that Ren Liangchen would forgive him after he apologized and belittled him. However, Ren Liangchen did not forgive him and even slapped him. How could he accept such an insult? Don't go too far. I just threw the netherwater shark's body to the side. I didn't throw it to you on purpose. Now that things had come to this, Lu Long was still denying it in every possible way. It was truly disgusting. Under normal circumstances, when killing a demonic beast, at most, it would be thrown to the side. How could it be thrown to the side of them? This was really casual. Do you think we're idiots? Or do you think we're idiots? Yi Tianyin looked at him calmly. Sometimes you have to be responsible for your own actions. I'll give you a chance to jump down and swim back up. I'll pretend that nothing happened. Lu Long's face changed. What was the difference between that and suicide? The netherwater here was more terrifying than the outside. If he swam back up, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Especially in such a dangerous place. How long would it take for him to recover? This place was constantly being attacked by the black gas. If no one protected him, he would definitely die. His companions who came with him might not be able to protect him all the time. Ren Liangchen and the others looked at each other. They did not expect Yi Tianyin to be so ruthless, but they liked it. Yes, as long as you swim back up, we won't pursue this matter anymore. Otherwise, Ren Liangchen's eyes turned cold. The three of them were filled with killing intent. What happened earlier was almost the same as trying to kill them, so it was reasonable for them to kill him. They were already being merciful by only letting him swim down. At least he would have a chance to survive. It seems like you really want to fight with me. Do you really think I'm a pushover? Lu Long's eyes were extremely cold. He turned his head and looked at the people on the side. Do you want to know how to get out of this death mist? Let me tell you, this death mist is very dangerous. If you're not careful, you'll die. But I know how to get out of here. As long as you fight with me, I'll give you the map. In order to save himself, Lu Long immediately asked for help from the other team. There were only 3 people left on their side. They were in a very bad situation. They were poisoned by the netherwater shark's attack, and now they had to face 4 people at the same time. Without a doubt, they could not deal with them, so they had to ask the other team for help. The other team had 3 core transformation stage cultivators, and they seemed to be quite reliable. However, no one knew what was going on with them. Yi Tianyin and the others looked over there. They want to see what they have to say. A map, huh? If it's just a map, then the reward is too low. The middle-aged man in the lead shook his head. He felt that the reward was too low. At the very least, you need to add some weapons. Otherwise, if you want the three of us hunting tiger to take action, the price is too low. You are the Laihu brothers. Ren Liangqin's face darkened. Tianyan didn't know who the tiger hunting brothers were, but judging from Ren Liangqin's expression, he knew that they weren't ordinary people. All of them were above level 6 or level 7 of the core transformation stage, which was a very powerful cultivation level. Previously, he had noticed that the few of them had killed the deep water shark quite easily, and those who had come with them had all died. However, the three brothers had no problem, which showed their strength. The three of them have done all kinds of evil things. They often kidnap young girls and humiliate them. Recently, they had killed their way into a sect and committed all sorts of evil deeds. They had even insulted the eldest daughter of the sect, causing them to be hunted down. Originally, they were hiding in the Netherworld Empire, but now that the Netherworld Empire had been destroyed, they had nowhere to hide, so they could only flee to the Netherworld. I didn't expect that we would meet these three scums here. Ren Liangqin sent a message to the three of them. Tianyun's eyes are cold, so they are scum. It seems like we are quite famous. You even know our names. Liangqin said with an evil smile on his face. The titles of the three of you resound like thunder. How could we not know about you? Fear flashed across Lulong's eyes. As long as you can help me, not only will I give you the map, I'll also give you a top-quality soul armament. I won't lie. What about you two? Liangqin and Liangqin looked at Lulong and Liangqin and asked. We have to contribute too. The other two were stunned. Wasn't Lulong just asking for help? What did it have to do with them? If you fellows don't want to pay, you can choose to jump down. If there are 2 laps, I won't charge you anything. Hunter Cheng's eyes were filled with killing intent, and he didn't look like he was lying. We will give you a high-quality soul instrument. Huh? 2 high-quality soul instruments. That's all we have. Although they were core transformation cultivators, their situation was not good. It seemed that they had just broken through to the core transformation stage not long ago. Not bad. Liangqin and Liangqin looked at Tianyun and Liangqin and asked with a smile. Their offer is not low. How much will you pay? Liangqin and Liangqin released their qi. They were at level 7 and 8 of the core transformation stage. After the battle, they didn't consume much of their qi. They were not weak. Liangqin and Liangqin's faces changed. They thought that they would attack immediately. He didn't expect that they would ask Tianyun and Liangqin. Did this mean that if Tianyun offered a higher price, they would be dead? Offer a price. Tianyun said calmly, why? Ren Liangqin and Liangqin looked at them coldly. They didn't want to compromise at all. Even if they were weaker than Liangqin, they didn't want to compromise at all. Especially to these disgusting cultivators. Compromise was a great humiliation. Why? Isn't our strength enough? Liangqin and Liangqin took out their high-quality soul instruments. Each of them used a different weapon, but the smell of blood filled the air. Liangqin didn't know how many people they had killed. In that case, I will give you a price. I promise you will be satisfied. Tianyun smiled. What price? Liangqin's eyes lit up. They were going to the ghost world, so they needed to collect more resources. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to settle down in the ghost world. I will spare your lives. Is that enough? Tianyun said calmly. Chapter 468. Spare the 3 of us. Lai Cheng was stunned. Lulong and the others were also stunned. They thought that Tianyun would really give them some reward. Who knew that he would spare their lives? Fuck, Big Brother is playing with us. Lai Feng's eyes turned cold. He pulled out the long sword from his waist and stared at Tianyun. Lai Cheng raised his hand to signal them not to be impulsive, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. It seems that you think you are strong enough to kill all of us in one go. Of course, he was talking about Lu Long and the others. They were also going to participate in the battle, so there were 6 core transformation stage cultivators in total. At least not a fool would be able to figure out who had a higher chance of winning. Especially the 3 Lai Hu brothers. Their cultivation was amazing, so they would definitely have the upper hand in a fight. What do you think? Yi Tianyan looked at him indifferently and said, "Kill him for me, then jump down and swim for a lap, and I will spare your lives." Did I hear it wrong? Kill them, and you want us to swim for a lap? What do you think we Lai Hu brothers are? Lai Cheng said angrily, "Do you really think that you are invincible? Even if you are a beast tamer, do you have the ability to command the deep water sharks to attack me?" They were not worried at all that Yi Tianyan was a beast tamer. The deep water sharks were good, but Yi Tianyan's control was limited, especially on the shore. How could he command the deep water sharks to come up? The deep water sharks could not walk on the shore, let alone swim. Although their cultivation was already at the core transformation stage, their spiritual wisdom was not developed, so their control of spiritual power was not as strong as that of cultivators, so they could not fly at all. Core transformation stage cultivators could fly by controlling their spiritual power, which was equivalent to using spiritual power to fly in the sky. Of course, the effect was different. "We don't need the deep water sharks. We are enough." Lung, who held the giant axe in his hand, ready to fight. "With just you?" Lai Cheng sneered. "I don't know how many of you I have killed, and how many of you begged for mercy in front of me, but in the end, a figure flashed past and appeared in front of him. Before Hunter Cheng could react, a palm had already slapped him heavily on the face. Hunter Cheng only felt pain on his face before he was sent flying. He slid back a long distance before he barely managed to stop. His face was swollen, and who knew how many of his teeth were broken. Blood continuously flowed out of his mouth. It was a horrible sight to behold, and his face was directly disfigured. Following that, another figure flew over and stepped on Lai Cheng's body. He said calmly, "Beg for mercy? Who did you say begged for mercy?" After speaking, Yi Tianyan stomped down fiercely. With a pung, Lai Cheng's body was stomped into the ground. The violent stomp caused Lai Cheng to spit out a mouthful of blood. He felt like his internal organs had been crushed. No one could react to the sudden change. Hunter Cheng, who had the highest cultivation, was instantly killed. The one who killed Hunching was none other than Yi Tianyan. He looked very young, but he was able to display such a violent power. I die." Yi Tianyan stomped his foot heavily, and with a bang sound, Lai Cheng was completely trampled into the ground, and there was no sign of life. Under such a violent power, how could Hunter Cheng withstand it? Ding! Successfully killed Hunter Cheng. Reward: 1,200,000 EXP, 4,800 crazy point, 1,000 SBS. Reward: Hunting Tiger Step, Wild Impact. Reward: Detoxification Pill, Hunting Tiger Claw, 5 times EXP pill. His sin value is really quite high. It's even higher than the ministers. It's not that the ministers don't kill many people, but the things they do are too heartless. In a blink of an eye, Hunter Cheng was killed. When Yi Tianyan turned his head and looked at them, they felt a chill in their hearts. How can there be such a monster? Hunter Cheng's cultivation was the highest among them, but he was killed in an instant. It means that Yi Tianyan's cultivation is much higher than them. Big brother! They screamed. Their big brother, whom they respected so much, had been killed so easily. No way! Is brother Yi really that strong? Even the eldest brother of the Hunting Tiger brothers was killed so easily. Ren Liangqin and the others were dumbfounded. They knew that Yi Tianyan's strength was definitely not bad. They didn't expect Yi Tianyan to be this strong. An 8th level core transformation stage cultivator was killed in 2 moves, and he didn't even have time to say a word. Lu Long and the others' legs trembled. They thought that the 3 brothers were the strongest, but they didn't expect that the youngest kid was the strongest. How strong is he to be able to kill Hunter Chung so easily? Peak of core transformation stage. They didn't dare to think about void spirit stage. Void spirit stage is too difficult to cultivate. It belongs to the level of Phoenix Feather and Cheelenhorn. There are many peak core transformation stage cultivators, but void spirit stage cultivators are very rare. Just take a look at the Netherworld Empire. Once a cultivator breaks through to the void spirit stage, he or she would become a great general or an important minister. The difficulty of cultivation was too high, so the corresponding level was different. This is the last time. Do you want to jump down and swim? Or do you want me to kick you down and swim? Tianyan looked at them coldly. Hunter Fong and the others swallowed their saliva. In the face of Tianyan's terrifying pressure, should they jump down or not? You killed my big brother. I will kill you. Hunter Fong shouted. He didn't choose to compromise, but instead he grabbed his weapon and stabbed Tianyan with all of his strength. He was like a gust of wind, and his speed was so fast that it left an afterimage in everyone's eyes. Tianyan didn't even bother to look at Hunter Wind as he kicked Hunter Wind with his foot. Bang! Hunter Wind was sent flying by Tianyan's kick and fell into the Netherworld River. Splash! Hunter Fong sank to the bottom of the river Styx, and he didn't get up again. Even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. How could he swim up to the bottom of the river Styx? He could only sink to the bottom and didn't get up again. Second brother, I will kill you. Hunting Rock roared and rushed towards Tianyan. He was ready to fight with Tianyan to the death. It seems like you are quite loyal. Then get the hell out of here. Tianyan didn't show any mercy. He rushed forward at a faster speed, aimed at Hunting Rock, and kicked him into the Netherworld River. Splash! Another person fell into the river Styx, and he didn't get up again. The river Styx didn't float people up, it only sucked them in, so they would only sink to the bottom of the river Styx. Chapter 469. The 3 hunting tiger brothers who had astonishing cultivations were killed just like that. In total, it took less than the time it took for a stick of incense to burn. This kind of power was really shocking. This caused them to be dumbfounded. Apart from shock, there was even more shock in their hearts. Tianyan turned his head and looked at Lu Long, his eyes flashing with a fierce light. What about you guys? I don't know how you'll answer. Are you going to jump down and swim 2 laps, or do I have to help you swim 2 laps? Lu Long and the others had bitter expressions on their faces. They had originally wanted to join hands with the 3 hunting tiger brothers to get rid of Tianyan and the others. Now that they had all been killed by Tianyan, they did not know what to say. I'm willing to give you the map unconditionally. Please let me go. Lu Long knelt down, trembling. This time he finally gave in and did not dare to resist at all. He knew that resistance was useless and would only cause him to die earlier. The 3 hunting tiger brothers were the best example. They were killed in the blink of an eye. This was the result of resisting. I've said it before. Either you go down by yourselves or I'll kick you down. Choose one. Tianyan's gaze was ice cold as he indicated for them to jump into the Netherworld River and swim 1 round. We also need it? The 2 core transformation stage cultivators said with a bitter face. It seems like this has nothing to do with them. That's right. Didn't you think about dealing with us before? Tianyan said calmly. At least from your expressions, I can tell that you have such intentions. After he said that, he used his qi to suppress them. He didn't need to use too much qi. As long as he was at the peak of core transformation stage, it was enough to suppress them. Their expressions changed. These words weren't false. They really did have such thoughts. They must have listened to Lu Long's words and joined forces to deal with Yi Tianyin and the others, who knew that there would be such a big reversal and they would be completely crushed. It was too late for regrets. Oui. They had long faces and wanted to say something, but they didn't know how to explain. Jump, or I'll help you. Make your choice. Yi Tianyin said coldly, We'll jump by ourselves. The two of them paused for a moment. First, they consumed a few antidotes before jumping into the Netherworld River. As soon as they jumped down, they immediately let out blood-curdling screams. The underworld water continuously invaded their bodies, and in the blink of an eye, their bodies were already pitch black. However, in order to survive, they could only keep paddling forward. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as simple as swimming. They would die here. When Lu Long saw this, his expression changed. He knew what it was like to be poisoned. It was definitely not a good feeling. He turned to look at Yi Tianyin, gritted his teeth, and said, Sir, other than giving you this map, I have other secrets to tell you. It's definitely worth it. Ren Liangqin and the others looked at Yi Tianyin, not knowing what to do. Do you want to jump down yourself, or do you want me to help you? Yi Tianyin's voice was as cold as ever. He had no other choice. I'll jump. Lu Long gritted his teeth and turned around, revealing a bit of killing intent. However, he could only endure it for now. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape. He could either escape into the mist of death or jump into the river Styx. There was no third option. When he arrived at the river Styx and was about to jump down, he immediately unleashed all his strength and rushed into the mist of death. He didn't choose to jump into the river Styx. Instead, he chose to escape into the mist of death. Although jumping into the river Styx would give him a chance to survive, the chances were too slim. The mist of death was different. He wouldn't die immediately if he rushed into it. He didn't believe that Yi Tianyin would catch up with him. However, before he could run more than a few steps, Yi Tianyin had already flashed in front of him and looked at him coldly. His speed was much faster than Lu Long's. In the blink of an eye, he had intercepted him. There was no way for him to escape. From the beginning, Yi Tianyin felt that it was very likely that Lu Long would trick him. As expected, Yi Tianyin was planning to escape into the mist of death. Therefore, Yi Tianyin, who was well prepared, quickly intercepted Lu Long and stopped him easily. Why? Where do you want to go? Yi Tianyin said calmly. I want to sprint. If I go down. Lu Long said with a bitter face. No need. I will help you down. Yi Tianyin kicked Lu Long fiercely. Lu Long screamed and fell into the water. He quickly sank to the bottom of the river and never floated again. This kick was not light, and it directly broke his bones. It would be a miracle if he could still swim. Ding! Successfully killed Hofeng. Reward 100. 000 EXP 4. 600 CPS 900 SPs. Obtained Martial Arts Hunting Wind Claw and Hunting Wind Steps. Obtained Detoxification Pill, Healing Pill, Hunting Wind Claw. Ding! Successfully killed Hofeng. Reward 100. 000 EXP 4. 600 CPS 900 SPs. At this time, the two of them died in the river Styx. They didn't die when they were kicked into the river, but after a while they were poisoned to death. The two cultivators who swam out only swam one round outside before they quickly swam back. When they reached the shore, they grabbed onto the shore and rushed up. After they came up, they were gasping for breath. It seems that the poison has penetrated into their bones. It will take a lot of effort to detoxify them. The two of them were lying on the ground, motionless and breathing. They took a lot of detoxification pill in advance, but they don't know if it will work or not. Yi Tianyin is a man of his word. Since they did it, he will let them go. If they can survive, then it is their own ability. If they can't survive, then they deserve it. Brother Yi, your strength. Ren Liangqin and the others finally came to their senses, and their eyes were filled with shock. They thought that Yi Tianyin was strong enough as a beast tamer, but they didn't expect his cultivation to be so strong. My strength is not bad. I won't drag you down, Yi Tianyin said with a smile. As long as they are not hostile to him, Yi Tianyin will treat them with a smile. That's not what we mean. I mean, you are too strong. Is he really at the core transformation stage? Ren Liangqin said in shock. Yes, he is at the peak of the core transformation stage, Yi Tianyin said with a smile. He really is at the peak of the core transformation stage. They gasped, but it was still within their expectation. Judging from his strength, Yi Tianyin was indeed at the peak of the core transformation stage. Yi Tianyin didn't lie. He only used his cultivation at the peak of the core transformation stage. He didn't use his cultivation at the void spirit stage. How can we say that you are dragging us down? We are dragging you down, Ren Liangqin said with a wry smile. They had been taking care of Yi Tianyin before, but they didn't expect that Yi Tianyin's cultivation would be much stronger than theirs. There's no such thing as dragging us down. We are not in the ghost world yet, Yi Tianyin said with a smile. Ren Liangqin patted his chest and said confidently, that's true. Let's cut to the chase. We promise to bring you to the netherworld. Chapter 470. Ding. Successfully killed Lulong. Reward 440. 000 EXP. 4400 crazy point. 500 SPs. While they were waiting, Lulong's death notification came, and Yi Tianyin got EXP. Because he didn't use crazy experience mode, he didn't get a lot of EXP. But this is not a big problem for him. 1,000,000 EXP is nothing to him. The most important thing is to complete the quest. If he can get some treasures or soul accumulating grass in the phoenix nest, he will make a lot of money. He doesn't believe that there is no soul accumulating grass in such a big phoenix nest. After half a day, the death fog finally showed signs of dissipating. Look, the death mist finally began to dissipate. They were all excited after waiting here for so long. The death mist finally began to dissipate. If they continue to stay here, they'll be sucked dry. The black chi here is much stronger than outside, and the consumption is much higher than before. Indeed, it is finally dissipating. Yi Tianyin nodded. But this is just the beginning. If they walk too slowly, the death mist will sweep over them several times. The difficulty will be greatly increased. It is too difficult to reach the ghost world. But there are still many people who want to go to the ghost world. It was all for a better cultivation environment, which was much better than this place. Just the spiritual power concentration in the normal area is much higher than here. As for how much higher, they have to go there to find out. Soon, the death mist dissipated very quickly, and in a blink of an eye, it dissipated relatively thin. But there is still a layer of death mist shrouding the area. It did not completely disappear, but they can vaguely see the road ahead, unlike before. Even if they use their spiritual sense to perceive it, they can't easily explore it. Let's go. If we are late, it will be too late. Ren Liangqin nodded and took out a map from his storage ring. It is a detailed map, describing how to go through the death mist. Yi Tianyin glanced at the map and found that it is roughly the same as the Netherworld passage map he obtained. There is not much difference. He didn't expect that they really got a real map, not a fake one. It is very likely that they found a lot of information in this area. It is possible that they found several maps and finally confirmed this one. After looking at the road, Ren Liangqin immediately took the lead and walked forward and smiled at Yi Tianyin. Brother Yi, this time it is our turn. We spent a lot of effort to get this map. We can definitely get out of here. How can you be so sure? Yi Tianyin asked. Of course, we're confident. We spent a lot of money to buy it from the experts who returned from the netherworld. How could it be wrong? Ren Liangqin smiled and said, If we don't come prepared, we will die. We don't want to die here. We don't have any enemies. We live a good life in Heavenly Border Continent. Even if we want to die, we won't come here. Yi Tianyin's eyes lit up. An expert who returned from the ghost world. Did he really return from the ghost world? This was good news. He had always been curious about how the cultivators from the underworld came back. Now it seemed like he could find out a little. I'm sure he has the ghost world's token. He definitely doesn't have it in the heavenly boundary continent. Ren Liangqin said with certainty. Do you know where he came from? Tianyan asked. Ren Liangqin shook his head and said, he didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to talk about it no matter what. He seemed to have experienced something terrifying. I thought I could get more information or find out about other passages, but it seems like this is the only passage to the netherworld. So that's how it is. Tianyan nodded. Although he didn't know where they came from, he was sure that Ming-Qin wouldn't come out from here. This way, at least the situation here could be ruled out, and there was no need to guard this place. But if he wasn't here, where could he be? Immediately, they set off quickly. The two core transformation stage cultivators were still lying on the ground. No one knew if they were dead or alive. It would take a lot of effort to detoxify them, and whether they could survive or not was not something that Tianyan could do. Anyway, he had given them a chance, and if they couldn't survive, then they couldn't blame him. Under Ren Liangqin's lead, they quickly moved forward and turned left and right according to the map. In front of them was not a forest, but a maze of rock walls. There were many paths, and they didn't know which one was the right one. Fortunately, they had a map, so they wouldn't get lost. Go this way. Ren Liangqin led them to the left side and said, be careful. Even if this is the right way, it is not safe here. This was a natural danger zone, and it wasn't a formation set up by a powerful cultivator, so everything would change according to the situation. As they continued to walk forward, suddenly a black shadow came towards them, and it happened to pounce on Tianyan. It didn't pounce on anyone, it just pounced on him. A long sword appeared in Tianyan's hand, and he turned around and slashed at the black shadow. In a blink of an eye, the black shadow was cut in half. Then, a stream of black blood splashed out, and Tianyan quickly propped up a protective shield to block the black blood. However, when the black blood touched his shield, it made a sizzling sound, trying to burn through the shield. But Tianyan's spiritual power is not weak, of course. It's impossible to burn through the shield. Brother what happened? They all turned around and saw a black worm on the ground. It was as thick as an arm, and it looked very disgusting. This is a dark water worm. If you are bitten, you will be injected with a lot of poison. It is very disgusting. Ren Liangqin immediately recognized it after seeing it. And it is quite fast. Brother Yi's skills are not bad. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to block it. It's okay, let's continue. Tianyan signaled them to continue to move forward. Ren Liangqin nodded and continued to lead them forward. As they continued to move forward, there were a lot of dark water worms along the way, but they all had one thing in common, and that was to attack Tianyan. Strange. Why are they all attacking Brother Yi? They felt very strange. They didn't let Tianyan walk at the back. They were all walking at will, but they only attacked him. Yes, it seems like the dark water sharks are the same, probably because my aura is too weak, so they give priority to me. Tianyan smiled and didn't care about it. He suppressed his aura to be very weak, so it was easy for these monsters to attack him, and most importantly, his sin value was too high, so it was easy for him to attract their hatred.